thanks for what you do with your podcast and all the rest. You're doing a great job. Hope everybody keeps tuning in. You get a lot of good info, a lot of insights, understandings of how to get strong, how to stay strong, how to use your strength.
You do a great job, dude. You make things better than they are in real life, I think.
If you don't follow Massenomics, y'all do it. Social media, website, everything.
Massenomics.
Yeah.
Welcome back, everyone. Here we are for episode 373 of the Massenomics podcast, the lifting podcast about Nerfing. My name is Tanner.
And my name is Tommy.
Recording live from Studio 6.9 tonight. Just like riding a bicycle, isn't it, Tommy? It just feels like we've done this a time or two before.
I always think it's more like riding a tandem bicycle,
yes.
One of us is just pedaling, the other one's steering, taking the other person's life in your hands.
Do you see those things for kids where you got a bicycle and then it's like a tandem bicycle?
Yeah,
it just attaches off the back.
I have seen those. I think you're the one that's made me aware of those.
Okay, and sometimes I think they might have pedals even, and I don't know if they do anything.
It'd be hard to believe that they would do something.
Yeah, I don't know the mechanics of how they would do something, right? Of this thing you attach to your.
I mean, technically, I'm sure there's a way. I just don't know if it makes the most sense.
Yeah, right. 373 of the Massenomics podcast, and boy, we've got a banger tonight. We've got a big guest to talk about the history of Barbend and their recent acquisition, big David Thomas Tao. Before we get to that, we've got a whole bunch of other fun topics, including talking about our new release, talking about a new giveaway gift for all of our supporting members, and we got a whole bunch of interesting topics in there to probably get to, some before and some after that. But before all of that, I wanted to make sure to talk to all of you about Juggernaut AI. For anyone that doesn't know about Juggernaut AI, I would ask, where the hell have you been, you idiots? Have you
heard of the internet?
Juggernaut Trading Systems is the leader in strength, having helped thousands of athletes from beginners to world champions maximize their results and reach their goals. They deliver principle-based coaching through cutting-edge technology to help you get the best results of your life. And that cutting-edge technology that they're referring to is the Juggernaut AI app. It's the very app that we use for our training and that at least half of Massenomics Gym uses for their training, and a big majority of our, or a big group in our Massenomics podcast supporting members are all on Juggernaut AI. So what I really like about it is several things. One is the tracking of your lifts over time. Two, how it adapts to you over time based on your inputs. And maybe three, another one I'll throw out there is just like the usability, the user interface and like the ease of use it's so easy a caveman could do it, I think is their slogan. So check it out. And now, as long as we're listing off things, I'll say number 4, the best thing about it is you can use discount code Massenomics, and that'll save you 10% off the lifetime of your membership. But in order to do that, you can't sign up through the app. You have to go onto the web browser. It's juggernautai.app. That's where you'll get signed up. That's where you will use discount code Massenomics to save.
Today's episode is also brought to you by Swisslink. In 1995, Maurice Big Mo Huffman founded Swisslink with the mission to bring authentic Swiss Army goods to the United States and into the hands of those yearning for quality gear at uncompromised prices. Now, for nearly 3 decades, Big Mo has been traveling far and wide in search of the best items from military forces around the world. Big Mo doesn't only find authentic military clothing for Swisslink, he brings in everything you can imagine, from Swiss military rangefinders to Italian police tracksuits. Swisslink.com is also home to the Swisslink Classic Wool Blankets. They're an ideal mix of 80% wool and 20% recycled fibers. It's that special blend that provides a soft, luxurious feel while maintaining all the benefits of wool. The designs are reminiscent of brands that rhyme with Schwendelton and Schwedson Bay, but they're available at only a fraction of the cost. Swisslink's exceptional collection and dedication to quality customer service distinguishes them from the competition. Enjoy a 15% discount on your next purchase at Swisslink.com by entering the code MASS at checkout. That's code MASS to save 15% at swisslink.com.
I can vouch on those wool blankets too.
They're the real deal.
They're the real deal, the real McCoy.
They really are wool, and they really are blankets.
Both.
You were like
verified
worried you were going to
facts.
get a wool towel, actually.
Like, nope, it's a wool blanket, and it's wool, like lanolin, sheep's wool.
You can tell it's more of a square than a rectangle. It's clearly a blanket.
Yeah, so not a enormous towel.
Yeah.
Otherwise, what is the difference at times?
It's a great question. We had some exciting stuff in the world of Massenomics happen today, Tanner.
Oh, God, that's putting it mildly, I would say.
Well, I like to kind of downplay things, so.
Yeah. What thing are you thinking? The drop that we had?
The
I mean, that was
drop.
pretty big news. Yeah. Big new drop. This is our, what do you call this? Is this our meet day drop, our comp outfit drop?
Yeah, this
or
is probably the meat
something like
day accessory pack, really.
Yeah. That's true. So what'd we bust out with? Starting from smallest.
Starting
I've
with
got one right
smallest?
here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Starting with
You have one?
smallest, we have the new and improved Massenomics Headband. And I'm not lying, this thing, as little as it is, what, $12.99? Is that what this headband costs?
$12.99.
I am genuinely shocked how nice this headband actually turned out. I had high expectations, but it turned out even better than I thought. The last headband there's two styles of headbands. The last one was the much taller headband. It was probably like 4 or 5 inches tall. It kind of actually goes up on top of your head a little bit.
It covers up your LeBron James hair fade.
It does. It does. Where this is more of a traditional headband width. It's like not quite 3 inches. And it just, man, it's like the right size. And the print turned out amazing on it. The fit's great. I love how this headband turned out. And for $12.99, I don't know how you couldn't throw one of these in your cart the next time you're on the website.
I don't know if you've noticed, Tommy. I'm
You're
over here. I don't know.
Taking notes. What's going on there?
Well, this is paper. This is pen. And
That
I don't know if
is.
you see what I'm doing here. I'm putting pen
To paper. I see that.
to paper.
Oh, I see. All right. The calculations are going.
Okay. Yep. Yes. Okay. I just put pen to paper. $12.99. You can't frickin' afford not to buy this thing. I
See?
just ran the numbers right here. Pen to paper. It will literally cost you more to not purchase this headband than it would.
He
Pen to paper verified right here.
did
live
the
on
math, so
show.
you don't have to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and right. I don't know if you can read this, but can't afford not to.
Mhm.
It's right here in verified with pen and paper.
So that's in there, and you can wear.
If you're on the fence, don't be anymore.
Yeah, whether you do a powerlifting meet or not, this is just a great item to have
Yes.
for all-purpose life. So make sure you get one of those.
It is really nice. You will
And
not. If you
actually,
want a
maybe
headband
even
and
get
you
a
order this,
couple.
you won't be
There's been
yeah.
several people that are throwing a couple in their cart, which I think is a smart move. These are
Yeah, especially at that price.
these are good to go.
Don't make me get out the pen and paper and decide if buying 2 is the right choice. We're just gonna assume it
don't
is.
make him go there. All right, so that was the first item. Moving
Yeah.
up the scale in size would be our,
But down the body.
down the body, up the scale would be the deadlift socks.
Yeah.
And these have been a long requested item.
Do you have any deadlift socks on you?
Well, yes, I do. Here, they're on the floor here.
I got some here too. We were both dramatic pause while we both grabbed deadlift
Yeah,
socks.
I was walking around in the garage with these today, so they're kind of dirty, but
Yeah.
I'm holding them up. They are, in fact, a long tube sock. They're not going to stop mid-shin. These are long. These are the same. If you own our
Smells
crew
good, too.
socks, these are the same construction and fit as those. Just have I like to say it has a longer shaft than the crew socks.
This does have a lengthy shaft,
Yeah,
which is key.
it is key
And-
for the deadlift socks, the shaft length.
I would say, if you wanted to get specific, these are Jefferson deadlift socks, although they can be worn for any deadlift variations, but
Right.
preferably the Jefferson.
Yeah, that
each
almost
their
goes
own, I
without
guess.
saying, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah,
That's
we have
why
a little red.
That's why we didn't name them the Jefferson
Right.
deadlift socks, because it just goes without.
It's
without
redundant, right?
saying.
It has a red cuff at the top, the Massenomics logo on each side of your calf. Going down, you had the red heel, red toe, and you got Massenomics written down the side of the foot on both sides. So solid item there too. Socks, socks. Protect your shins.
Yeah, and as we're recording, these have been released already, and both are selling well, and as they should be. So don't sleep on the headband or the socks. I'd tell you that right now.
Don't do it.
Don't you
All right.
dare sleep on those.
Now, moving up in size and also up the body, we are on to the meet day shirt.
We're in the middle of the body now. We hit it from the top and the bottom, and
finishing right where it counts, right at the heart. And we got the meet day shirt, comp tee. This has been something that's probably been on our to-do list for what, 3 or 4 years?
Yeah, I was gonna say 3 years. I thought probably actually it's probably been in writing for 3 years.
And we released it in 2 colors, in Massenomics red and in black. And the tee has on the upper center chest, it has the Massenomics M logo. On one sleeve, it says lift hard. On the other sleeve, it says live easy. You know, to give out that right vibe on meet day, you got to get that message out there. And it is available in red or black. So depending on your color choices, color preferences, your singlet color, you can either make things pop with that red, or you could probably go all stealth with black. You know, it's whatever you're into.
That's right. Yeah, you heard him right. You can get this shirt in absolutely any color that you want, as long as it's red or black.
And I don't know what else people would ever want besides that, you know?
There is nothing else.
There is no other color. So, yeah, things have, the drop has gone, for the most part, you know, it is stuff that is relevant to competing and being in a meet, and the drop is going good. So we're happy to see that. And I guess the final other piece to the drop would be the singlet. And, you know, with everything going on, can we still say that? Are you still allowed to say that in 2023?
Yeah, I think there's still, no, I think that's a permanent excuse. Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah, I think we get that used all the time on us still. But yeah, with everything going on, the singlet is not quite ready. As of recording right now, it is May 25th. We're really hoping that singlet is ready by mid-June.
Yeah.
It will for sure be ready by the time the Massenomics powerlifting meet goes on, so people can show up in that. But yeah, we're hoping to get that thing out like mid-June-ish, so that people have plenty of time to check it out, order, and have it for any meets that you could possibly be doing in like late July, you know?
Yeah, and we could have put it for sale now, but we just want to have a good grasp on sizing on this, because it's not our typical item. If it was a t-shirt, we could have handled it maybe a little bit differently. But we want to help people make sure that they're, getting the right size for what they need. And this is a more expensive item than normal. So we do think it's going to be a very nice singlet. But with everything going on, everything went on.
Yep, you just can never be too safe.
That's right.
All right.
That's the drop. Hell of a drop.
Yeah, so if you haven't bought anything yet, like we said, Tanner did put the pen to paper. Make sure you go do that. Stop the podcast. Stop driving your car. Pull over. Order now.
Do not make me get my paper out again. I swear to God, I will put my pen on it.
Yeah, you don't want him to do that again.
Yes.
All right. Should we start looking at the list here? Because we got a few little things going on.
Yeah, I think we should, before we forget and before we delay any longer, think we should tease people on the very exciting news that's going to be coming up for Massenomics.
Yes, God, I'm glad you actually said that, because I would have skipped right past that again.
I think we should let people know. So everyone knows about our supporting members. We've got this group. You can choose to support, and we'll talk about some of those supporting members later in this episode. But periodically, we like to do these giveaways for everyone that chooses to be. I don't know if giveaway is the right word. That almost sounds like it's a random drawing. It's like everyone that is a supporting member gets in on it. We do these exclusives.
Token of our appreciation. Yeah, there you go.
Where we send out an exclusive thank you to our supporting members, and we've got the next one is in the works. It's going to happen really soon, actually. We don't know the exact date, but I guess what we would put out on that, if you've been wavering on deciding whether you're going to become a supporting member or not, do it immediately right now, because there will be a line in the sand where we're going to send out this gift items, even where everyone that is a supporting member as of that date will get in on it, and at no additional charge. So do sign up as quickly as possible so you can get in on that, because once we've crossed that line in the sand date, you'll be SOL for that particular one. You can still please join up, get signed up, but you might just have to wait till the next cool giveaway to get in on it. So
yes,
as of the time you're hearing this, you for sure, if you're listening to this within the first week of it coming out, you've got enough time to sign up still. Get signed up.
Yes. So go to massenomics.com/join, pick your support level, and you're in the Cool Kids Club. You'll be...
And any support level will be, you will get in on this this particular gift. So sign up at any level.
There you go. We'll put a couple reminders out there on that. But
Big Nate asked if everyone has already joined up to be a supporting member yet. Not everyone, but it's a lot of people. It's getting to be a growing club. So when we do these giveaways are getting more and more intensive for us with the number of people, but that's awesome. That's what we want.
There's more and more work and they're becoming more and more expensive, but we do think that they're worth it. Like we do, we do like giving back. So, and
these are usually fun in some way. And like the exclusivity of it is kind of cool. You know, like everyone has something to show for it. And, I'm as excited for this one as any of them that we've done, just because I think we've got some fun, very Massenomics things wrapped into this. That'll be really cool.
Mm-hmm. For sure. All right. One thing. Okay. I made a few notes here, Tanner. One thing, I feel like we got to get, we've been on a bit of a language pronunciation kick lately. And
for like the whole podcast, basically.
Yeah, it's been really coming up a lot the last few weeks. Our pronunciations on certain things have become infamous, you could say. But there's one that I was not aware of until very recently.
Aluminum.
No, not that. I was not aware of until very recently. And I was reminded when I was listening to the Unpaid and Underrated podcast about this pronunciation. And that is, do you know how people in Canada say Z?
It's not Zed, is it? That's
they
not
do.
What
they say
they
Zed.
say Zed.
They do say Zed.
Like if they read out the alphabet, they say Zed.
Yes. I don't know if they're reading the alphabet if they say it, but like let's say I think your camera's like a ZF1 or something. I believe they would say ZF1. And Joey, when he was spelling out his name, he goes like MECZF or MECZ. No, I can't even do it. MECZCO.
A whole bunch of consonants.
Oh, so many like words that the letters that don't make any sense together. But he said the Z, and I'm like, yeah, people really do that. That's crazy because that does not exist in America.
No, I've heard that before. Obviously, like because I knew that. I see it in the list. I actually didn't even pay attention to that being in the list. I just, but no, I've never heard anyone that says that on purpose like that.
I wasn't aware of it until very recently because I like to watch a lot of car YouTube, and there's several car YouTube guys out of Canada, and Z is a letter used in car names a lot, and they always say.
How come? Do you think Z is a jazzy letter?
I don't know. You could also argue that Z is used a lot, S is used a lot, F is used a lot. I mean, there's only 26 letters to pick from, so there's certain letters that just get used a lot, and Z is used a fair amount, and they say Z, and it's always so. For a while, I thought maybe there was something wrong with my brain that I was hearing this wrong, and then I did hear one of them call attention to it, because we're in Canada, we say Z.
Okay. Some people, you will use the military alphabet to describe things a lot, but that's different. Right?
Yeah, that to me feels like a different application. Or if you're just always using that in casual conversation, then maybe you're trying too hard.
That's what I would argue. You don't have to do that all the time.
Yeah. You're not making life really easier for anyone. You could argue you're actually making it harder for everyone but yourself there. So
yeah. What do you got, a can over there or something?
I do, and I'm quite thirsty. I'm still back to the raspberry right now. I've been on a big Modelo kick lately.
Okay.
And the fridge is just taken up with Modelos. So once again, I had to go into the 90-degree garage to get this hot raspberry bubbly out.
I got something a little interesting right here.
Wow.
Hold this one up. This one's noteworthy. We've got a blackberry lemonade Waterloo. How about that? Put that in your smoke and pipe it.
What are those crazy minds at Waterloo? What are they going to do next?
That was not a particularly crispy crack. It was a thud.
I could
That's
hardly
not
hear
the
that.
It was very thuddy. It's not what I'm after. So
Very thuddy.
minus 0.5 JD Powers just for the lack of crispiness on the crack. This is one that would, had I been guessing the flavor, would be damn near impossible to get anything right about it.
It doesn't quite hit that way.
Blackberry lemonade. I think there's no possible way someone would taste this and come to any of that conclusion.
I would never, like, usually though, I would never get blackberry. Blackberry is always the hardest flavor. Lemonade though, usually lemon you can pick up, but maybe the blackberry
little
masks it
bit.
enough.
I think it's the combination is just a little. It mirrors it throws you off the lemonade trail, I think, a little bit.
Right.
It is good. There's nothing bad about it, but I just don't love it.
Right. The flavor profile is just a little.
They're in the 3.5, 3 area, but because of the lack of crispy crack, I'm going to give it a 3 JD Power and Associates Award.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Obviously, like it's so obvious.
Obvious. I picked up on some big gym news.
Oh,
in the eastern southeast South Dakota region.
We do. You kind of are our the Massenomics. You've become the Massenomics podcast look into the commercial gym scene.
Yeah, I have. I'm the mole, the commercial gym mole.
Like I do. That's probably what was missing in maybe the first 7 years of the Massenomics podcast.
That was
we
the
didn't
problem.
really. We had no commercial gym.
We didn't have an inside guy to get the scoop on what's going on in the greater world out there. We were just stuck underground.
We're in our
spot.
sheltered little basement, there. And now we get more.
So these numbers I'm going to throw at you are kind of crazy, kind of mind blowing. You're a guy that's familiar with running a gym, the numbers that are involved with it. So I've just become aware, and I will start this by saying I'm not going to go to this gym. So there's no. I don't care about this at all, but
there's not like a conflict of interest here.
No, I don't care about this gym at all. It's just from a noteworthy standpoint, it's worth bringing up. Okay, are you familiar with Crunch Fitness?
God, I've heard that. But am I familiar with it? Like just in the way that I feel like I've heard the name. But
like, have you spent a lot of time in one before? Is what I'm asking.
Is it anything like Crunch candy bars?
I think that they're very closely related. If I had to guess,
okay.
I have
like a
nothing
crispy
to base that
wafer
on.
inside of thin milk chocolate bar.
I'm assuming there's a lot of crispy wafers involved in this gym.
Okay. Then yes, I'm very familiar with this.
Yeah,
yes.
Really the only thing I remember seeing this logo before. That was really the only thing that stuck out. It's like a hand grabbing the word.
So what
crunch.
is it? Crunch
Fitness. Yeah, look that.
Is this
up.
a chain or?
It is a chain. Yeah, I didn't actually know that that was the case.
Okay.
So they are opening. They're going into what was once it was the old Gordman's building in Sioux Falls. I don't know if you know where that is, like just south of the mall. Okay. So it is
south of the mall. Okay.
It is a 60,000 foot gym is what this will be when it's all done.
60,000?
60,000 square feet, which is a
huge,
large gym. And they are claiming that the build out is $6 million. It's like, those are Dr. Evil numbers.
What?
So it is the
How many
most,
members are they going to have? 10,000 monthly members?
Here's the crazy thing. Okay.
How much is membership?
That was the thing that didn't add up. And then I realized, it's like the special for the first month, that it was something like membership for like the first 100 people is like, because I saw the thing, it said like membership $10. I'm like, how many members do you have? And then I realized it was like for the first 200 people to sign up or something.
Right.
But if you look at the pictures, it is like, this does not look like this speaks to me in any way. Like it is the most massive cardio equipment room I've ever seen in my life. Like I didn't actually know gyms had that large of cardio areas in them. I don't know, like this row in this mock-up here and this picture of other locations. I mean, elliptical machines, I don't know, is there 50 of them in a row? And then the next row after that, there's 50 treadmills. And then the row after that, there's 50 like stationary bikes. Like that's so much cardio equipment. It's hard to believe that can still get people into gyms.
How many members do you think a gym like that gets? I mean, it's got to be thousands.
I mean, it would have to be.
You'd have to get 3,000 members to even start to Right? Wouldn't you or not? Like I'm just like
well,
with that amount of outlay and like
I don't know. What do you say? Do you assume is membership $50 a month?
Yeah, I think you got to assume 50.
I mean, that's $150,000 a month in just
at 3,000 members.
Yeah, at $50, $150,000. But even there, like
but you're gonna have one hell of a mortgage to pay back.
Yeah, just your build out is $6 million, and then like that building,
loan, I guess, or
yeah. And if you have that many people, 3,000 people, well, but that's the thing. If you actually had 3,000 people thrashing on your stuff,
you could never. But the theory here has to be that 10% of the membership comes.
You have 3,000 members, and only a couple hundred of them ever show up, and then those couple hundred that show up, most of them aren't actually really doing anything. So that's where the numbers work out. But the Massenomics gym is just so far from that it's hard to even comprehend that business model actually does exist out there. You know?
Wow. That's wild. That's so much money dumped into a gym.
It's nuts. Like when you think about it.
So does that include, are they buying the building or do they rent the building?
This says right here, the $6 million build out will include cardio equipment, a large free weight section, classes, multiple turf areas, hydro massage, a hit zone, boxing, UV tanning, and a babysitting area.
I mean, for as expensive as stuff is, I do see how things could add up. And when you're buying hundreds of pieces of cardio equipment,
I'm not totally sure if they actually own that building though, or if they just lease it. You know, I don't think like a lot of big box stores own their buildings, and things like this. Like you're just leasing it from the.
Right. So that means they still have probably quite a rent bill every month, right? Like
I would assume. I don't know how they couldn't.
For 60,000 square feet.
And then just the heating on something like that. It's got to be, your heating and cooling's got to be crazy on something like that too, I'd think.
But I wonder, maybe that just is such a draw for people to come in and get memberships. But I'm also like, where's the 3,000 people that don't already have gym memberships?
There's so many gyms in this town. And also, I don't know, I'm new enough that maybe I don't get it, but I don't know if that's actually the most convenient location from a residential standpoint. It's where a bunch of commercial stuff is. Like that's right. And I shouldn't even say commercial. It's where a bunch of retail stuff is. It's not like there's huge office buildings in that area. Like, but maybe people drive to that. I don't know. It's clearly not for me, so I don't got to worry about that. But it's
that sort of thing.
Shocking.
Ain't my bag, baby.
This is not my bag, baby.
So was that Sioux Falls gyms or commercial gym look?
Oh, I have another one here. Okay. Yep. I forgot I put some of these in here. Okay. I forget that this also exists because everyone at Massenomics Gym, this maybe sounds like ranty. I don't know actually what this is. This is observations, I should say. Okay. Everyone at Massenomics Gym, even the guys that don't like legs, still do train legs, Like they all do.
True. There's some that don't like it a lot less than others. But
yes, and there's some guys, like everyone knows there's a few guys that really don't like it, but they still do it.
You basically have to.
They do. Like they'd get called out a little too much if they just take too much shit if they never did legs.
Right.
But I forget that there is that look. It takes me back to the YMCA days of guys that have arms that are bigger than yours, Tanner, and they have legs that like look like they belong on like a 150-pound high school boy. Like, and man, is it a funny just contrast seeing that. And it had been a while since I had witnessed that in person. And I did see that recently, and it kind of took me back. I had to give it like one of these double takes, like and you do one of those, and like wow, that is a thing.
It is a rare sight, especially like when you walk into a Massenomics gym. You never don't see someone like squatting or deadlifting. No, there's always somebody squatting or deadlifting.
That corner of the gym is always being used. Yeah, the only time it's not being used is if you're the only one in there. Otherwise, it's safe to assume someone is over there doing something.
Yeah, that is funny. You don't really come across that.
No,
I don't come across that. Yeah,
it's been so many years since I've seen that. So, in case you're wondering, that look still does exist a little bit out there. So, and there's nothing wrong with it, but it does look odd. And if you're spending time in the gym, you might as well do some leg work. I get it. Yeah. Like some people don't like leg stuff, but find something, Maybe you don't have to do squats. Maybe you just, I don't know, maybe just do leg extensions or
it's not press. The mirror muscles, is it?
Yeah. Got to do something though.
How about a little supporting our supporting members?
How about it?
Wait a second. Where did I get rid of supporting our supporting members?
You did just mark that as complete.
Can we uncomplete that?
Yes, there is a way. Filter on the top. It says filter incomplete tasks. Do you see that little filter button?
Yeah. So I'm on. This has never happened before in the history of the Massenomics podcast.
Kind of messing up the notes.
I was really about ready to head into supporting our supporting members here.
Did you find it or not?
It's probably so old of a, because
right,
like that. It's not
I
at
think
the
you
top.
can in the top right bar. There's a search button. Oh,
Okay.
Do you see that search up there?
Yeah. Okay, where are we at now? Supporting our supporting members. Okay, got it. Okay,
We're good.
Which is good.
Crisis averted.
There's a lot of them here. I'm gonna uncheck it. For anyone behind the scenes, this is okay. This is confusing me. All right, I found it. So this segment is something we do for our supporting members that choose to support us. We just talked about that earlier in the show. We'd love to have you sign up. We got things like upcoming gifts coming, that sort of thing. We also, you do this, you get to watch the podcast live if you want to. You get access to our very active Discord community. You can become a crew member. Now we call it CRU with the umlaut. That's what you become, a Massenomics crew member. You do that by becoming a supporting member. And then also each week on the podcast, we like to give back a little bit to any of the supporting members that we see out there doing anything that's noteworthy or that we think's cool. And this week we had several of them. Big Johnny POV, he competed at New York's Strongest Man and got second overall. And he did that including first place in the car deadlift event. So good job, Big Johnny. Big Sam F competed at a strongman competition, and he did it in lift jorts. In lift jorts for the bonus points. And he ended up getting second on the car deadlift event and overall did very well. Big Matt S and Big Eddie W. I don't know why I'm just using last initials here.
Eddie W. I like that.
Competed together, two crew members in a Highland Games.
They were throwing some things.
Yeah, Big Eddie, of course, a Highland Games veteran. Big Matt, his first one. They're both decked out in the kilts. Both had Massenomics insignia on their kilts, so you love to see that. And then we get into the garage gym competition entrance of this over this last week. All the ones that I caught. There's probably more out there. Let me know if you didn't get mentioned last week or this week, but here's some of them. Big Tyler, he did it in highlight there. He did his Jefferson, or he did his deadlift Jefferson style on a one wheel, a la Big Mikey.
Yeah.
So he did a 275 Jefferson on a one wheel. Props
Just
to
the
that.
fundamentals, right?
That's keep it simple. Big TR, he did it at 49 years young. He turns 50 here soon, and he did a 475 squat, 350 bench, and 455 deadlift. So #Masters, keeping the Masters dream alive there. Big David, one of the Davids, he was in on it. 350 squat, 205 bench, 420 deadlift. That was a deadlift PR. Big Scance, speaking of Masters, 425, 275, 476. Big Jen got in on it. I don't have her, and then I got a whole bunch of people where I don't have numbers listed. But Big Jen competed. Big Alex P got in on it. Big Mini action. He did it.
He put up some big numbers.
Yeah, 377 bench in there. He said that was a 1 kilogram PR. Big Moto guy submitted. Big Bremy Strong, who's made us pretty sweet J cups that we got at the gym. He competed in it. Big Chris D, loves the D. Garage gym competition, got in on there. Big Andrew, the Cookie Man, the Cookie Monster. Big Andrew, he did it.
Andrew B, the B's for basketball.
Yeah, the B is for basketball and for drink spotter. He got in on it, and then the original supporting member himself, the granddaddy of them all, Big Scott Dodzilla, competed.
Damn, I kind of feel like I missed out on that party.
Yeah, it was a lot of good competing there, wasn't it?
Yeah, it really was.
Yeah. So now how do I get back to not this thing that I'm in here is what I would like to know. Okay, fixed it.
Okay. Do you want to read an ad? I'll start kicking people out because our guest is waiting.
He's waiting? Okay, good. I will read a quick ad. Actually, I'm just going to tell you about the Strength Co. The Strength Co. plates have become the go-to plates of Massenomics Gym. When I say that, I mean that in the sense that they are the plates that fill all of our important squat racks by our big deadlift platforms. Everywhere where you're going to be lifting heavy weights, we've got a full sets of Strength Co. They've got everything from hundreds, 45s, 35s, 25s, 10s, 5s, 2.5s, 1 and 1.25s. They've got them all, and we've got them all, and we love them. They're our favorite plates in the gym. There's no doubt about that. They are the plates that members go to when they walk in. Number of reasons: smooth, easy to grip, made in America, veteran owned. Big Grant is just a good all around guy, so we like supporting a company like that. And another cool thing on Strength Co. plates update this year, they drastically reduce shipping costs. They've become some of the probably, I don't know if this is true, but outside of companies that are maybe offering free shipping, in which free shipping, that means the shipping price is already baked into the price of the plates. Outside of that, they probably offer the cheapest shipping on plates, especially the 45s are just a steal, which really brings the dollar per pound on these plates down quite a bit. So anyways, check out the Strength Co. We love them. We'd love to have you get some and let them know that your good friends at Massenomics sent you.
This episode is also brought to you by Barefoot Shoes. Most shoes harm your mobility by over-restricting your foot's natural movement. Barefoot shoes are designed with minimal restrictions so your feet can move the way they're supposed to. Move with more strength and confidence in every step. Barefoot Shoes was founded by Chris Duffin, who attributes proper foot biomechanics as foundational to his success in squatting and deadlifting over 1,000 pounds for reps. He helped create the company to provide a minimalist shoe that can be worn for anything from deadlifts to walking your dog. Go to www.barefoot.shoes to check out the best minimalist shoes available. And while you're there, make sure to use code Massenomics to save 10% on your next order. That's barefoot.shoes. Code Massenomics will save you 10%. Tanner, I told you a little story. Barefoot had it on their story on Instagram. It was a video of Jimmy Butler, who's a pretty good basketball player. If you're not
Jimmy Buckets, playoff Jimmy. We do need to talk about NBA playoffs before the end of the episode.
Yes, we should. Yeah. And they had a video of him walking into, I believe it was pregame, walking into the arena, and he had a pair of the Barefoot loafers on, which is pretty crazy. Yep. Like, how did that? I think it's a great product, but I just don't picture a guy like that in the NBA who probably has a shoe contract with Nike or someone in some way or another wearing Barefoot shoes into the arena. So if a guy
we'll have to ask our friends to the north here how
that connection happens. So if that guy who has unlimited footwear options and is actually financially incentivized to wear other brands is picking Barefoot, I think that says something about him.
Himmy Butler. He's him.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, should we get our guest in here?
Let's get him on the horn.
Okay, I'm going to admit him now. Here we go.
Oh, there he is.
Oh boy, we are doing it. We are doing it.
Big David, is that you?
It's medium, moderate, David.
No, when you're here, you're big.
I'm big. It's. I mean, that's from Pumping Iron, right? Where he addresses everyone as Big X.
No,
Big
it's from the Massenomics podcast.
Yeah, it's we borrowed that, much like everything we've ever done. But there's nothing new under the sun. So to be fair.
So I feel really bad, guys, because normally behind me I have like my whiskey library set up because my side career is I'm a professional whiskey taster, but I'm actually hosting an industry event upstairs today. So like they're up there drinking. I actually have a pour here.
What so we got to know what that is.
So this is Oh yeah, no. So this is Jack Daniel's Coy Hill release, the highest proof thing they've ever released. They released it 2 years ago. So this is like 145-ish proof, Jack Daniels basically. So instead of like the whiskey library behind me, you get my KitchenAid mixer.
Yeah, I was waiting to point out the KitchenAid mixer. I like the color.
Let me tell you, this baby, this teal green, ooh,
it pops.
Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness!
To be fair, you don't. I mean, it doesn't get better than the KitchenAid mixer though in terms of mixers. I think, right? I mean, that's the gold standard.
I hope not, because that's what I bought for Christmas.
Yeah.
So if it gets better than that, I'm gonna feel real low class.
No, I think it's the gold standard.
I just sold a company. I want the best mixer.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You have I sold company money, so you got to have the best mixer. It would be
I
a disservice to yourself.
Mixer money basically is like between $200 and $300. So.
So we do have big David Thomas Tao with us of founder of Barbend, and we'll get into more details of everything that's going on there. First question would be, maybe for anyone that's listening that doesn't know, we obviously know, we're in the know, but we might have some people that don't know. What is Barbend? And what's your elevator pitch on what is Barbend if someone asks you?
That's changed a lot over the last 6 weeks. But Barbend was until like a month ago was the world's largest independent media company for strength. So strength sports results, news, training, reviews, analysis, op-eds, you name it. We were the biggest independent publisher of that content in the world. And just for reference, in 2022, we had over 31 million users on the website. So people coming to the website, reading, interacting with the content. And we recently got acquired, so we're still one of the biggest. We also own breakingmuscle.com. So some folks might know that site from way back in the day. We relaunched it about a year and a half ago. So we're now part of Pillar 4 Media, and we are still aiming to be the biggest resource for strength in the world. We're just not independent anymore. So we have to knock off a few more rungs on the ladder and grow a little bit more to now be like the biggest overall. But I used to throw in that independent word, and it would just kind of like get glossed over, and people would be like, wow, you guys are really legit. But we're a media company. We publish articles and videos, mostly articles on all topics related to strength. We have hundreds of contributors from around the globe, some of the smartest people in strength. If you Google how to do a deadlift, how to do a back squat, or you Google Olympia results, or Sheffield results,
World's Strongest Man results.
World's Strongest Man results. We have reporters on the ground at World's Strongest Man every year. We're actually the only outlet that's had that during the pandemic, which is pretty cool. So official media partners with USA Weightlifting. We're a media provider for World Paralympic Powerlifting. And it kind of started as a blog with some guys in a basement somewhere, and it became a real legit media company. So that's what we are. And I'm no longer CEO. I'm head of brand, which is, I got to be honest with you guys, a lot more fun. I can drink whiskey and go on podcasts.
Yeah, you got a little time to cut loose now. No more of that CEO stress and pressure.
Woo!
Yeah.
Executive what? No, not over here.
I think that's a really good description, especially for if it's new to anyone. It's like what I would say from our corner of the world too. It's just been, over the years, it's been like a super valuable resource for us. Even if we're making goofy and silly stuff over here, which most of the time we are, it's just like what you said. Anything you're going to Google like that, Barbend is oftentimes one of the first thing that's going to come up. So if we're wanting to make a silly list, and we need who competed in World's Strongest Man in 2023, and we're basing it off that, that's where we're going to get that information from.
Well, and it's not unusual if we're trying to provide some insight or recap to a strength event of some kind that just happened over the past weekend. There's no ESPN coverage of it. There's, if you're lucky, someone on Instagram maybe put something besides their performance out there, but if you're going to Google it, typically you guys are the one that come up. So like, it's not unusual for us to reference you when we're doing a podcast that is looking back on something that just happened.
The weirdest thing for us is when the sports governing bodies themselves use us as their primary results resource. So the media, so it's really weird. Like, we were actually ranking above World's Strongest Man for World's Strongest Man results this year.
Right.
And we've actually had, I don't want to like name names, but we've had competitions that have published results and they've been wrong, but our results have been correct. So they'll actually reference our results and tell people like on social, or they'll like issue a correction. They're like, please check out Barbend's coverage. Right. And that's weird. There's like no two ways about that, but we kind of built our brand on events coverage and like news, because I always wanted news in the space. I was tired of having to wait 2 months to get a magazine in the mail to figure out, who squatted a regional record, right? Like that. I was really frustrated. That's why we started Barbend, and we've expanded the type of content we write now. But like at our core, we kind of build our brand in the space, I think, on like, hey, this is where you can go and get results across these sports, because weightlifters are kind of interested in what powerlifters are doing. Powerlifters aren't interested in anything. I'm kidding.
I mean, you're not totally wrong.
Yeah.
Strong men are beating their heads against stones, so there's not a lot. No, I'm kidding. They're all lovely people, but yeah, we wanted to be the home for those results, and then we grew and started writing other stuff.
Yeah. How about this? It's funny. Tommy and I were talking about this. Massenomics, a very different brand than Barbend, and a lot smaller scale in many ways. But we've had this fun connection with Barbend over the course of many years. And like you guys are have always been very reputable. Just all the things we were just talking about. And we're kind of the opposite of that. To be
kind
fair,
of mostly
to
the opposite of that.
Yeah. But we've still had this really fun connection. Like, and also like, I just would give you credit on still being able to have fun with things while still providing, beneficial, factual, accurate information, but then still being able to also do things that are fun alongside of that. But why do you think Massenomics and Barbend has had this kind of fun relationship over the last like 5 years or more?
So it's because some early members of our team, including myself, right? Yeah. We really like you guys. Like it's out like, I mean, Tommy's been on our podcast twice.
It's like it's been a once a summer thing for me, and now all of a sudden, here you're on ours this summer. So I guess we got that taken care of this year.
Yeah.
It's bizarro world, but like I just want to be clear, like podcast guests, we get a lot of inbound podcast guests. Like we had Ice-T on our podcast, like the rapper Ice-T, because his people reached out to us, which was like super. It was we actually had 3 Grammy Award winners on our podcast in the same calendar year, which was like super weird. But great. They were all amazing guests. They had a lot to say about their fitness journeys. But like, if you see someone from the strength space on our podcast, it's probably because I like them and I reached out to them. And pardon my French, just really frickin' like you guys and think you're funny. And I think you bring like strength, I truly believe, and we at Barbend believe, makes the world a better place. If people do resistance training, it helps the general population. It increases lifespans. It increases resilience. Like more people should do it. But if you are doing strength training to the point where you are making it like who you are, and you're self-identifying as a powerlifter, and you're building a garage gym, or you're driving to South Dakota to train with some folks in their like apparel company / podcast / comedy gym, then like if that's who you are, you should not take yourself too seriously, and you should have some fun with it. And you guys really bring that to the space in a very needed way. And I think we when Barbend was much smaller, identified that and really looked to you all for perspective, because like if you're doing this competitively, 99.9% of people who do this stuff competitively, powerlifting is a great example, are not setting world records. You all remind us to have some fun with it and to enjoy ourselves along the way and not take ourselves too seriously. And boy, do we need more of that. So
amen.
I've loved spreading the Massenomics gospel, and it's an honor to be on here. And yeah, I mean that's really the answer.
Well, we got our sound bites, Tanner. Should we close this one up?
Yeah, that's all we really needed. We were just
up,
trying to
guys.
get the good things about Massenomics. We use those in intros and
what the world needs now is Massenomics.
But no, it is funny. Before we got started, we had to hop on the website and go into the search and type Massenomics, and we're like, oh yeah, here's like 11 articles that reference Massenomics in one way or another. And we have had over the years, you guys have reposted lots of our stuff on Instagram too, and we always laugh. We're like, it's just, you'll see these somewhat serious articles from Barbend, like, oh, here's so-and-so, and here's this person doing this, and here's a recap of this, and oh, and by the way, here's this Massenomics meme. And we just laugh every time because it even catches us off guard because it seems so out of place.
Look, everyone, I mean, the Jefferson deadlift is a real thing.
Yeah.
and it needs to be given some gosh darn respect. I don't know what PG rating we have on this podcast.
Oh, you can do whatever the hell you want.
Yeah, we've had that very discussion from our listeners and asked them what would you rate it, and I think the consensus was PG-13. I think was the most common rating we give it, and we believe that means we can have like one F word per episode. So
we haven't used it yet, so it's still out there for
you. It's still available for you in case you feel inclined.
Here it is. Frick. Anyway, we're done. We've had Joe Sullivan on our podcast a couple times. And the first time I think he dropped 169 F-bombs. I'm like not kidding. We counted. It was spicy. Yeah. It was spicy, guys.
That's a lot of F-bombs. And not to understate it, but you did build this this big, I mean, for our space, a big company, a very legitimate brand, and just so people understand like some of the aspects of that. I mean, you had, how many employees are there at Barbend?
Ooh, it's growing so fast, and I'm not making all the hiring decisions anymore. So I think when we sold, we had 16 or 17 full-time employees, and I mean literally hundreds of contributors and freelancers, because in the strength space, a lot of the smartest folks, they're not writing full-time. They're coaching, they're competing, right? And a lot of they're professors, so a lot of them write for Barbend, but I think it was 16 or 17 full-time, and we're ticking up over 20 at this point, because after the acquisition, we're immediately kind of throwing more firepower at our editorial team, which is really cool.
Do you think in the year 2023, looking at the fitness industry, would a media company be the hardest way to make money in the fitness industry?
Oh man, media companies are a really tough, man. They're a tough way to make money. I live in New York, so like I know so many people right now who are not having a sweet time because like Vice just went bankrupt.
Oh, did they? I didn't catch that. Okay.
They went. We actually, okay. Here's. Sorry to go into the weeds. We used to be in the same. Vice had two main buildings in New York, and we used to have like a small. Our small office. Our filming studio used to be in like the Vice building, but we like rented a little part of it. And the hilarious thing is, like, they went bankrupt and we didn't.
Yeah.
Which is really weird.
How the turntables turn.
Yeah, I was like, oh, that's strange. But BuzzFeed News just shuttered. Mm-hmm. Like it's a rough time for media in New York, but I really do want people to know that like there are media success stories, and I think the key is like, are you willing to target an audience or a community that's underserved? Like, I'm a big strength nerd, right? I've loved strength for a while. I've been the worst competitive strength athlete you've ever seen across multiple sports. The guy, they're like, oh my God, like bless his heart, right?
Hey, you're looking at a couple pretty average guys over here. You're
speaking our language.
So
yeah. But I love it. And Barbend was born out of I have two fantastic co-founders. A lot had to go right, but Barbend, the idea for it came from my frustration that I couldn't go to a place and get all my strength news, right? I couldn't like go to a website and nerd out about strength. So I do think that Barbend's success has proven that like there is a community for strength and it is sizable. And just for reference, we tried to raise venture capital funding in the early days of Barbend. We had a 0% hit rate. We got turned down. I had dozens of meetings with venture capitalists, and most of those meetings ended with them calling me an idiot.
Like, would they actually use that phrase? Not quite. Not that.
I think only one did, and the others were very thinly veiled, which is somehow worse.
Yeah.
They're like you were short-sighted, or like you're not thinking about this. That was actually the one that hurt the most. You're not thinking about this. Like, anyway, but I don't know. I think that these communities exist. They're sizable, and I have a lot of love for them. And I hope that we can continue to grow and prove that people who are into strength in all its forms, like, we're out there, we exist, we're real people, and we're worth a crap. So,
yeah, obviously you believed in this, as your brainchild, as the way I would understand it. So you obviously believed in it and you were pushing for it and everything. But at the start, did you picture this, I mean, did you really think like we will hit this, if you call this a finish line, did you believe we were going to get to this finish line in this way, or, what did you think?
At the time when Barbend started, part of me I thought it was a chance, but I don't think I believed. I thought that like best case scenario, Barbend like maybe becomes a lifestyle business, right? Like for me and my co-founders, which is cool, which would be really cool. I was like, maybe we can, it can create enough revenue for us to pay our bills. And by the way, Barbend was not, like, I've been very clear about this. Like there's a Medium post where I kind of spill all the details about Barbend. Barbend wasn't profitable for its first 4 years. Like we lost money for 4 years until we didn't anymore. So I think I kind of hope that it could just be a lifestyle business. Like it could be a job. And this is what I wanted to do. This is like my dream job. I could be a strength sports journalist, which like didn't really exist as a category, right? And that was kind of my goal, right? If I can make a living off of that, great. And then once it really started gaining traction and we got to the point where we were like, oh, we're a profitable company in 2020, it grew at a speed that I am still not really like fully aware of. I'm still processing it. So that's meant a lot of therapy sessions with the and as an entrepreneur, like once you sell a business and you're no longer the CEO, like I'm still very much a part of Barbend and I can't imagine working anywhere else. It's so much of my identity at this point. I don't know how to like extricate myself from it. So that's bittersweet in many ways, but it's mostly sweet because I see how much more we have as far as resources. I see the awesome new people we're hiring. So that was a very poor answer to your very direct question, but I'll sit with that.
So along the way, so what year did Barbend actually start?
2016. We started mid-March. I think it was March 17th, 2016, technically.
Okay. So 2016, you say you're profitable in 2020. In that window between 2016 and 2020, was there ever any times where you're like, man, I don't know if we're doing, like, if this is the thing I should be doing, or was it pretty positive and you had momentum the whole time?
I mean, for part of that time, I actually had a really good growth hack for the cheapest bowl at Chipotle, which is a way to get the meat bowl for the price of the vegetarian bowl, but I can't give all my secrets away. I can't give all my secrets away here. No, there were some really rough guys. There were some really rough times. Like there were probably, and I wrote more about this in this long Medium post about that most people probably won't read, but I think there were probably 3 to 4 distinct times where I thought Barbend was just about kaput. And then things happened that were really fortunate. Like we got off the ground in 2016, it was really slow going, and we're like, oh, this is kind of rough. And then 2016 World's Strongest Man, we saw this huge traffic spike, right? And we're like, oh my God, like this could actually work, right? We just have to do this every day for the rest of our lives. We have to like hit that high for every day for the rest of our lives, and it could work. And then like we tried to raise money too soon, and we basically got turned away. And then like the Rio Olympics happened, and like Wikipedia linked to us, and we're like, oh my God. There were all these different points where I thought it would go under, and then obviously when the pandemic hit, no one knew what the hell was going on with anything. Ended up being very fortunate for us because people still wanted fitness content, right? So that's where we kind of grew quite a bit. So, if like one big marquee event had been canceled between 2016 and 2019, like say they had decided to just like not do the CrossFit Games one of those years, I might not be talking to you right now. Right. Like we needed that traffic.
So Tanner and I always talk about this, and I'm curious what you kind of alluded to this a little bit, but was there ever, and maybe you actually did give the answer actually, but was there ever like a thing where you're like, wow, like an event happened, you guys published something, just something took place where you're like, things are different now. Like you had a huge spike, or like you caught the attention of something where you're like, yep, up until today, like it was a different company and now things have changed.
I would actually say the answer would be the 2020 Olympia weekend, which is the first time we really covered competitive bodybuilding. So weirdly, for the first 4.5 years of Barbend, we didn't cover bodybuilding. And part of that's because I just didn't really have a personal interest in it and didn't think we could cover it better than anyone else. And so I remember and again, I won't name names, but during the 2020 Olympia weekend, we were like, okay, cool. We're going to work that weekend, all hands on deck. We're going to cover results for all the bodybuilding categories. And I started getting texts. I think it was that Saturday night, like before the actual like men's open category had finished judging. I started getting texts that were from numbers I like didn't, some numbers I knew, some numbers I didn't know, but people from other outlets going, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "What do you mean, what are we doing?" And they're like, "You're outranking us. Like, you're taking our traffic." And like the goal is never to take anyone's traffic. The goal is just to publish the best content, right? Like,
then take their traffic, yeah.
And then take their traffic. And then I drink your milkshake, right? I have a long straw and I drink it up. That's kind of how the internet works. Sorry. But that was when I was like, oh, they're worried. And these were from like outlets. Like these are from like real outlets.
So why do you think were you getting the stuff out first, or why were you beating them?
We were getting this stuff out first. We were adding more context. We started getting links. That content started getting linked to because we were adding really good context. We had people there, like we were getting quotes. We were working with photographers. We were just writing the best I think I'm biased, right? But I think we were writing just the best content, and people weren't used to that. So they weren't used to like having a new challenger in that space. And right now, Barbend is arguably the biggest publisher of bodybuilding content on the internet. And there are that's arguable. There are a bunch of different ways to measure that. But when I started getting worried texts from competitors being like, is this something you guys are going to keep doing? Like, we're a little worried. That felt bad, but it also was a signal to me that like the tide had shifted. Because I like media. I like these folks. I don't want to, my goal is not to like put anyone out of business, but that's when I was like, oh, people are scared of us. That's a little different.
Yeah, that's cool. Okay, I've got a question. This wasn't a pre-question I had on my list, but in our discussion here, I thought of it, and I don't know the answer. This isn't me trying. I don't really know the answer, so I'm genuinely curious. The topic of PEDs, is definitely, it exists in these sports. Some more than others. If we're going to talk about professional bodybuilding or professional strongman in particular, we know it's there. Anyone that you've been around this industry, where it is and where it probably is and where it might be and everything. I just wonder, what do you guys talk about that, if anything, ever at all, or do you guys choose to not I don't know. What way do you or do you not discuss that throughout articles or videos? And I don't actually know. I guess recall
Tanner's, if I've ever seen it. I think Tanner, what he's trying to say, when does the Barbend ebook on starting your first cycle come out?
I need some tips here. Yeah.
Tanner, let me answer the first question here. That the question you're really asking, that your listeners really care about, is David Thomas Tao natty? Yes, I am. Yeah, I really hope. I've always wanted to get on like the natty or nah subreddit.
That would be like the ultimate compliment, right?
That'd be the ultimate compliment, but I know it'd just be like, what are you talking about? Like, please help, give whatever would help this man.
Is your hair natty, or is that a perm?
Oh, you've asked an off limits question, my friend. No, this is all natural.
Yeah.
It's actually pushed down because I have over the ear headphones on right now.
Right.
So this is actually, I'm talking to. Look, and I'm talking to two hair guys.
That's it's why we got to discuss it because you got something good going there.
It's very big. Hilariously, I got a haircut 2 weeks ago, and it doesn't look like it. I have big hair. Anyway, I will answer your question. So, our perspective at Barbend is we are not sports governing bodies. We are not a sports governing body. We do work with some sports governing bodies. Like, for example, when we write on anything in USA Weightlifting, we actually put editorial disclaimers on that as to whether we did that in partnership with them or whether we didn't. Right. And those types of content are different, and they're disclosed as such. We are not a sports governing body. We report on anything that is relevant regarding doping suspensions, positive doping tests, powerlifting, weightlifting, CrossFit. These are all common, right? I remember when Ricky Gerard tested positive, and from I believe it was the 2017 CrossFit Games, might have been the 2016, 2017 CrossFit Games, ended up ultimately losing his third place medal. I think we were the first to publish that, right? We have published, and this is I will say, like, we are a media outlet that operates with rules. I've had to recuse myself from being involved in content because I have had friends who have tested positive, or personal acquaintances who have tested positive for banned substances, and like, oh, I know that person. I have a friendly relationship with that person that is social and not just professional.
Yeah.
I can't be involved in editing or writing that content. Like, we have a process to recuse yourself from content. When it comes to sports that do not test, we're not showing up with a piss cup, right? As weird. Like, imagine that. Like,
it could be a fun
branded
YouTube segment,
like,
if you guys just started.
yeah. Hi, Barbend here. We're gonna need.
We'd like some of your pee.
If you piss hot in a Barbend branded cup. I'm gonna get in so much trouble for coming on your old podcast. Now, but we don't do. That's not what we do. We report, right? And ESPN is not showing up to test, to test boxers or to test UFC fighters or to test basketball players, right? Or football players. Like, just not what they do. That's not our job. If it's, but we will report on it. And like I said, no one's off limits. I have really good friends who have tested positive.
Hey, stop bragging that you have good friends. You're talking to a couple of guys that don't really have friends over here.
I have good imaginary friends. I have people I've slid into their DMs and they haven't responded who have tested positive. But and we've had a number of folks reach out to us to take articles down regarding that stuff, and we don't.
Yeah.
I'm not going to name names, but a number of athletes who listeners of your podcast have heard about have reached out to us, have reached out to me personally. Can you take this down, man? Even years after the fact, and our answer is no.
Right.
No, it's the facts. So, we're not afraid to report on what's relevant. And personally, and this is my personal opinion, not Barbend's, I wish more strength sports and strength adjacent sports had better drug testing protocols. I do. We're not going to be the ones to institute those because we have absolutely no right to do that. But we will report the news. We'll report what's relevant. And Louise, I remember when the 2018 and 2012 Olympics got retested. All the samples got retested basically in a better lab, and like, heads rolled, man. Heads rolled. There were weight classes at the Olympics where all three medalists lost their medals. And so you had like fifth place finishers ending up with silver medals. And like, that was intense. We were writing all that. When the IWF, this is a story that got lost in 2020, and it got lost because it happened at the same time as a lot of other impactful things across the world. It was during the pandemic. It was also during CrossFit's internal upheaval, for lack of a better term. It was reported that the head of the IWF for 40 years had siphoned off at least $10 million of illicit funds into his and his family's and friends' pockets. And they had proof of multiple bribes, like tons of bribes to pay off doping officials and judges and just like everything. It was intensely crazy. And we reported on all of that. And unfortunately, like, the story just kind of got lost during 2020 when everything was awful, right? But we were the official media partner of USA Weightlifting, and that was a terrible thing for the sport of weightlifting, and we reported on it. I remember I was on late night phone calls where it was like Eastern European time, trying to like getting scoops and learning all this, and like, you can still find that content on Barbend. So if it happens, we're going to report on it.
How about
so you guys
go ahead, Tommy.
No, I was gonna say, so yeah, like So you guys go through all of this. You've been acquired. Has there been did you make any major purchase? Like you get acquired, you're like, I have to buy something to congratulate myself.
Yeah.
Have you made any major purchases?
I bought this shirt recently.
Oh, hey, there we go.
It's chambray.
I'm
it's
assuming
tailored.
I'm assuming you bought that just for this podcast appearance, right?
Of course, I'm breaking it in. It's still a little stiff. I have a good friend of mine makes custom fit shirts and jeans. Shout out to Eric of Fitted NYC. So I bought this shirt, a little gift to myself. No, man, like things I bought some nice whiskey too. I made some really dumb whiskey purchases. Some really dumb whiskey
that counts,
purchases.
though. That's good. Yeah.
And I bought I bought some gifts for friends who supported me along the way, which is really fun. I don't want to go into specifics on that. Like that's kind of their business.
Yeah. Thank you, by the way.
Yeah. You're welcome for the car.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. I didn't buy anyone a car. That's not that kind of thing. That's not that level. Yeah. So, I bought a lot of whiskeys that I wanted. A lot of like kind of vintage whiskeys at auction. Bought some new clothes. And I do want to like plan a good trip for me and my partner, but it's been pretty busy since we sold. And so I don't know like when that's going to happen, but I need to just like put some time on the calendar and like do a trip and like really, really go at it. But just to be clear, this wasn't like selling like Google. Right?
I thought it was like comparable to Tesla at the peak is what I thought I had heard on the inside scoop.
It's like comparable if you sold a Tesla. Maybe. You think that's like I sold Tesla, but you just forgot the you know what I mean? No, we were very happy. Like we were like what I can tell people, and I'm comfortable telling people is our investors are over the moon, right? All of our employees transferred over, all of them. Right. They wanted to hire. Pillar 4 was like, bring everyone, and then we're going to hire more people. Right. And there's a lot of room to grow. So, I can't give exact numbers, and I'm obviously not going to give exact numbers on like the impact it had for me. But, what I will say is like our investors were thrilled. I had investors calling me like in happy tears. I think some of them had long regretted giving me their money years ago. But we were able to do something with it, and that's something really positive, and that was cool. And I'm really big into I train in kettlebell sport now. And here's the problem with that. I was like, oh man, I'll make some dumb kettlebell purchase, but I already have kettlebells.
Yeah,
right. And like they last forever.
Right.
Yeah.
So like, what the hell are you going to do? Right.
Yeah.
If I were a powerlifter, I would have bought some new barbell that I'll use once every 3 months, and it'll just collect dust. Right. Like the triple tsunami bar. Y'all don't really need that. You know what I mean?
But it just looks so cool on the wall,
It looks so cool, and it oscillates even when you're not using it. It's crazy.
So was the decision to sell when it was final decision time? Was it an easy choice for you, or was it a hard choice because you're still like maybe selling your baby in a way, even though you're still there and everything? Was it a painstaking back and forth? Yes. Yeah. What was that process like?
So the process, like, it was any due diligence process for a company of Barbend size is going to be lengthy and is going to be a little bit of a headache, just because you have to dot the I's and cross the T's. Like you have to, even if everything's correct, you have to quadruple check everything, because like people's livelihoods are in the balance, right? Like you can't mess up those documents and then suddenly your employees don't have jobs, right? Like that's really stressful. Most of the stress came from like, oh, this is going to be the new employer for our team. And so we had to make sure we had everything correct, and so that the transition was planned out so that they could continue to do their jobs and also like get get insurance coverage and
get a
like
paycheck on Friday.
Get their pay. Exactly. Like we can't miss a paycheck, right? And so I think the stressful part was not necessarily planning out the sale, but just the transition to make sure it was smooth. Pillar 4 is a company I've known for a while. When they approached us and were interested in Barbend, we knew very quickly it was the right home. for Barbend. And the further out we've gotten since the acquisition, the more I'm convinced of that. The more I see what Pillar 4 is investing in Barbend and how they share our vision and how they're actually taking some of the things we've done at Barbend and applying to their other properties, right? It was very much not like, oh, come in and we're like, we'll acquire you, we'll scrap you for parts, and we'll just run you like we want to run you. They have a lot of things that have improved Barbend, but they've also taken stuff that we built and said like, oh, maybe our other properties could really benefit from this, which has been really, really cool to see. So literally every week that passes since the acquisition, I've been more convinced like this is the right call. This is the right call. And all our employees are still there and the team's now bigger than ever. But yeah, that transition is really stressful because like if I got a number wrong, it could or if one of my, the other execs, one of my co-founders got a number wrong, I want to give them tons of credit. Like that could potentially, if we got a date wrong, that could mean our team misses a paycheck. That can't happen. That's 15, 16, 17 people who are like suddenly worried about their next paycheck. Absolutely not.
Here's a devil's advocate question. Maybe this is from the standpoint of someone that's been a hardcore Barbend subscriber, reader. They've been fooling on the brand since 2017 and on, and they love it. And we're still, Barbend's big, but you still operate in this pretty niche space where feels like everybody kind of knows everybody in some sort of manner and way, and it's this like tight community. And maybe they say, yeah, my opinion is that sucks. I wish they wouldn't have did it. I think it's going to be too corporate now, or like that's my concern. Or Garage Gym Reviews, Coop also a part of it, and maybe they're a follow of theirs, and they think now maybe all of this is too much under one house. I don't know why that's bad, but I just don't like it. Any thoughts on either of those? Like, do you have any of those concerns? Or
what I would say is look at the content. And is the content now worse than it was? If you have a specific example of that, show me. I'm curious. Like, I want to know. People can email me, david@barbend.com, right? Like, please go for it. Look to the content. We have more resources than ever. So I think our content's gotten better, right? So if you think our content's worse, let me know. Like, I would love to know. I'm still an employee of Barbend, right? I'm not CEO anymore, but I still have influence. Still work there every day. And by there, I mean a virtual construct of Barbend, since we're fully remote, just to be clear. So yeah, let me know, right? Like, give me examples. And I think things are going to we have a lot of really cool plans later this year to expand our video content, to expand our podcasting, to expand different types of written content, to expand our work on social as well. So there are a lot of things that like really need a lot more love, but we were just restricted on bandwidth before the acquisition. And now there's a plan to add more like literally more humans touching these things and producing this content. So, yeah, that's a legit criticism. Like, if you want to, sure. Yeah, sure. But like, let me know and show it in the content. Don't just assume it.
Do you think it brings up any questions of concern? Because like Tanner said, it is such a small space and people are very protective of their areas.
Right. That's what I think. It's protective. Yeah.
Yeah. People are protective of their areas. Do you think it brings up any concerns that people could have of, well, Pillar 4 does have what a lot of people I think most people would agree is the largest review section, or the review creator in the space, with Garage Gym Reviews. Now you guys being the largest, just even the largest producer of just news content in the space too. Does it start to feel like, this one company has all of it? Like, is that a legit criticism of that?
I don't know if it's a legit criticism. I mean, what I will say is like, it's not like I didn't talk to Coop before this.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, I knew those guys,
right?
Right. Like, we all kind of talk, right? We all share war stories or advice, right? Like, it's, Coop, once we got acquired, Coop reached out to me. He was like, hey man, cool to be on the same team, like, cause we kind of have that relationship. So I think that's always a legit. I think it's a legit criticism because why wouldn't people have concerns? It means they care about our brand, right? Like I love that if people bring it up as a concern and you all aren't the first to bring it up, like that's so cool that people care enough to say that. That increases our responsibility to keep producing great content and ideally better content. Because if we got acquired and we're not producing more and better content, what's the point?
Right.
Right. So now the burden is on us. Like they have every right to say it. Now the burden's on us to be like, cool, we're going to show you now. And what I will say is Pillar 4 has put their money where their mouth is, hired more people. We have better systems. We're more efficient. And we have a roadmap for even the rest of 2023 with like types of content I've wanted to do for years. And we just haven't had the time, the resources, or the bandwidth to do it. And I'm like, oh my God, finally, we could do this stuff. So look, any readers, that's a great part about consuming content, right? You get to criticize, and that's legit. And some of that criticism has been really helpful over the years. So I would implore people, if you have that criticism, reach out to me, david@barbend.com. I might be doing myself not a favor here, giving that out.
I was gonna say, you don't know who you're messing with here.
The
Like, get a lot of pictures. I would just like have someone screening photos for you.
I can't wait for all the terrible selfies I'm about to get. Right, just people like mid squat, like veins popping. Like let us know, right? And I have had so many conversations for most of Barbend's history. I have responded personally to a lot of inbound inquiries we've gotten on social media or email. You know, I always told everyone, if it's a hard thing to respond to, let me know and I'll do it. I've gotten on the phone more times than I can count with individual readers who have an issue with our content. And I've been like, cool, let's talk about it. Right. And we don't always end up seeing eye to eye, but almost all of the time, they really appreciate that we took the time to talk to them and hear their perspective. Right? Like we care. I'll drop an S-bomb. We really do give a shit. Right? This whole thing
PG-13.
There we go. There it is. There's your rating.
Yeah.
It wouldn't work if we didn't, and none of that has changed. None of that has changed. So it's a legit criticism. And also, to be frank, guys, I have a whole theory, and I don't want to go into it too much. I think media companies can only grow so big independently because media companies are, if you produce free content, you are subject to the whims of different algorithms that you don't control. Google, Facebook, YouTube, Bing, TikTok, Instagram. You are subject to those algorithms. Those are much bigger companies, right? We sometimes get rewarded by the algorithms and we sometimes get penalized by the algorithms. As an individual media company, that was the thing that always kept me up at night as an independent media company. As part of a larger media company, our resources are hedged a little bit, right? And if Barbend gets penalized in one algorithm, Pillar 4 is not going out of business, right? When Barbend's part of Pillar 4. But when Barbend's just itself, we get penalized in an algorithm, crap, that means we can't produce as much content. We just lost our contributor budget for the month, right? I think independent media companies can only grow so big. And with the aspirations we have, the aspirations that I had for Barbend and developed over the last few years and saw what this could become, I gradually realized we needed a home that could give us that surplus of resource.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. Tanner and I talk about it on a much smaller scale, like the algorithm thing, like you talk about. There's some times where, just for whatever reason, the algorithm says, "Here you go, let's show everyone your stuff." And there's other days where they go, "No, we're not going to show that to anyone." So yeah, I mean, we definitely experienced that on a smaller scale. You are talking about how Barbend is growing and turning into a bigger deal. As part of the acquisition and negotiating process, did you ever say, we are such a big deal that maybe we should be the 5th pillar and you guys should be Pillar 5 media? Was that ever part of the talk?
I would love strength to be its own pillar. Fitness is the pillar. We're part of the fitness pillar. I
think there should be a Barbend pillar. I mean, come on here, right? No,
actually, the correct pillar would be getting huge. Getting. I did joke. I did go to the Pillar 4 all hands. They had like their first ever all hands meeting because the company largely grew during the pandemic. So they had their first ever all hands meeting in Charlotte, North Carolina, with like 150 people in the room. It was awesome. I felt so much love down there, and I kind of joked. I had half a cocktail and a Diet Coke, and I joked to someone. I was like, the CEO, Todd. Next time you see him, he's going to have 40 pounds of lean mass on top of what he already has, and he's already a pretty in shape guy, right? And so, but also a fun thing. Kane Wilkes, who's a super heavyweight weightlifter and an Olympian and one of the few Americans to clean and jerk 500 pounds. Like, he works for Pillar 4. And he worked for Pillar 4 before Barbend was acquired, because Pillar 4 likes hiring people who are passionate about this stuff, right? Like, there are a lot of Barbend. There were two places, if you were a strength nerd, to work in media before Barbend got acquired, and like Pillar 4 was one of them. And it kind of felt like this warm embrace. And I get so many messages from people at Pillar 4, especially right after the acquisition, where they were like, yeah, man, like, what's your split every week? Like, are you like, is like chest Mondays, or is it not? You know what I mean? And I was like, oh, we're in the right place. We are definitely in the right place. There's also a story of, I won't say who, someone at Pillar 4 going to like a partnerships meeting with an equipment brand and getting in a deadlifting competition, and like feeling like they had to pull a certain amount of weight in order to like prove that they were a worthy partner, and they did it. And I heard that at the all hands, and I was like, yes, we're showing up, we're doing this. So
that's how all successful business deals close, right? It comes down to a deadlift competition, and that's.
I mean, look, you said it, not me, but yes, clearly yes.
So as a writer, as a content producer, someone that's in managing writers, everyone that contributes articles to Barbend over the years. Now with large language models, Chat GPT, AI technology, could you see that being replaced by artificial intelligence?
Are you going on a writer's strike anytime soon?
Yeah.
So first off, you're not actually seeing. I am an algorithm. You're not actually seeing David Thomas Tao. I actually put this into Chat GPT.
I knew the hair was exaggerated.
And something seemed off with the hair.
They produced this Muppet-like character, and this is what you're getting right now. No, that's another reason I'm really happy to be part of Pillar 4. Pillar 4 is spending a lot of time and resources thinking about that, right? Like, I know for sure. At Barbend, we didn't have the resources to think about like what's the impact of AI and language models and all this stuff. But I did know that if we weren't thinking about it, there's a risk it could put us out of business, right? Mm-hmm. But we didn't have the resources to think about that. I'm not smart enough to understand where that is going to push content. But Pillar 4 has a lot of resources dedicated to that and figuring out how that impacts content. I feel a heck of a lot safer as an employee of Pillar 4 when that is brought up than I did as a CEO of Barbend. Yeah. I mean, real talk. That doesn't make me look great. It makes me look kind of like a Luddite, but
still, like I don't even know. Do even the people that are really in the space even still really know what's going on? It's a animal that you don't even. It's impossible to keep up with.
I think that sometimes I was the worst CEO imaginable because I lead with my flaws, and there are so many of them.
So numerous.
They're so numerous that I never get to the positives.
But the trick is the flaws are all like any great interviewer knows. Some people say I'm just too punctual.
I care too much.
I try too hard.
Maybe this is why we had trouble raising money like 6 or 7 years ago, is because I'd be like, cool, so we need this much. Will you write us this check? But before you do, here's what you need to know. I don't sleep very well. Okay? I have these bad habits, right? The leg twitch thing, people who like twitch their legs under the desk, I'm the worst at it, right? It's absolutely the worst. You never want to be in a meeting with me. Like, I just led with all that. No wonder they didn't want to give us their money. Yeah, that makes sense.
Big David, we have this special game we play with every guest every time we have someone on. It's overrated, underrated. Seems pretty simple on its face, and it really is quite simple, so that's an accurate assumption. We have a list of special Big David Thomas Tao topics handpicked for you, and it's just your job to decide if each one is overrated or underrated. The most important thing is you have your druthers to elaborate as much or as little as you'd like on each one. and you cannot ride the line. No fence post sitting. You have to decide if each one is over or under. So if you're ready, we'll fire a few off at you here.
I think this is an underrated segment, so let's do it.
Excellent. You already get it. Over or under Harvard?
Definitely over. Definitely overrated.
And you went there, correct?
I did. Yeah, sorry, I should expand.
Okay.
I went there. I like to joke I went to Harvard State. You know, like
Okay.
the state school version.
Yeah,
No,
right.
I went to Harvard. I had a great experience. It's definitely overrated. If I say that and they hear me say that, maybe they'll stop asking me for money, so this can benefit me.
You didn't give them enough already?
I haven't given them. Anyway, I was about to really go off there.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah. I had a really good experience. I think that there is a lot of stuff that Harvard. I don't want to go into some of the negative things there. Harvard did a lot for me. The community's been very good to me. I think pretty much every higher institution of learning that has this like elite status is overrated, right? Like, I don't think the education I got was any better than anyone else's, and I know that because I skipped a hell of a lot of class. So you're like, yeah, overrated.
So did you, like, growing up, was it always like, yes, Harvard is a goal, or was it as you were progressing through high school, it was like, maybe this Harvard could be a thing? Like, what was it for you?
Tommy, I'm from Bardstown, Kentucky.
Okay.
I like where I'm from, like I didn't know what the hell Harvard was. Like it's something that I kind of applied to Harvard as a joke. And you know, broken clock is right twice a day sort of thing. Like
Yeah.
Like, I guess they really needed to fill out, like, they really needed to check some diversity boxes, some very specific ones. So, no, there are a lot of lovely people there, but definitely overrated. Was never a goal because, like, I don't know, most people where I grew up didn't really go to college.
Yeah, no,
right?
that's awesome.
Yeah. Okay.
Not that people where you grew up didn't go to college. I'm saying it's awesome that
that's
you
awesome.
went to
Yeah,
college.
Hey, a lot of them have done. A lot of people I grew up with who didn't go to college have done really.
No,
really
I know.
well.
Yeah, we have. I mean, we experience the same thing around here too. It's more than one way to skin a cat is what they say. You know.
That's right.
Yeah, I know some people who didn't go to college and they skin cats professionally. Let me tell you,
They know a few ways to do it.
They make good money.
Yeah.
Overrated or underrated Nathan's hot dogs?
Overrated.
Okay.
Overrated. Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on hot dogs. Nathan's makes a quality dog, right? But yeah, I'd say overrated.
Does Barbend do coverage on the hot dog eating contest? That's like fitness adjacent.
Yeah, that's close.
Yeah. No.
Well,
No,
there's a content idea for you this year.
Here's what I'll
You're
say.
welcome. You're welcome.
The only thing, sometimes it's just easy, you know. You get the only thing I will say is that at one point there was this startup. I don't think it exists anymore, called Clout, Klout.
Yeah, wouldn't they like rank you kind of?
Yeah, they would rank you.
That.
There was a time when I was the world's most influential person in sausages and other prepared meats. And that is the only I don't want to give any more context.
Now I know how you sold Pillar 4 on this whole thing.
Yeah. There was a time when I was literally according to Clout, the most influential person in the world.
So Nathan's was a really good question for us to ask you on overrated.
Oh,
underrated.
perfect. Yeah, perfect question. Yeah.
Okay. Tommy asked you about hot dog eating. I was just thinking, what about a couple other ones that come to mind? Have you ever covered arm wrestling? And what about like slap boxing? That's another one that. Have you ever covered either of those?
We cover arm wrestling. We've covered arm wrestling. We've covered wife carrying.
Okay.
Which is a whole thing. We have not covered slap boxing specifically. I don't think. Maybe we have.
Okay.
We produce so much content.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't really cover combat sports directly. We cover them in like a secondary, like we'll cover like the training for combat sports, right? And there's a lot of crossover. Like in the early days of CrossFit, like mixed martial arts and CrossFit were very intermixed in the early days, right? That's where you get like Fight Gone Bad, the CrossFit workout. So, yeah, sometimes I feel like at a certain point, someone asked me, they're like, what defines a strength sport? and I was really feeling myself, and I was like, we define strength sports, which is just not true, right?
Yeah.
That is just a bold-faced lie. But I think I'd like to cover more of that. I'd like to cover more I'd like to cover more arm wrestling. I'd like to cover more of these things. Like there weren't like strongman didn't get a ton of digital coverage. Outside of the broadcast of World's Strongest Man before we came along, right? So, I like to think there are definitely sports out there that will grow and that we can shine more light on.
Yeah. Overrated or underrated WordPress?
Underrated because it's like neutral to overrated until you use something else. And like I've used sites on, like when we bought Breaking Muscle, it was on Drupal. And like, this is probably going to offend some people, but what a shit show. There's your other PG-13, right? Like you're like, oh, WordPress is fine. It's fine. There's probably better out there. And then you try something else and you're like, no, like I'm running right back to WordPress. It's like the thing your mom warns you about. She's like, she warns you about something.
The grass isn't always greener.
The grass isn't always greener, and you're like, Mom, and then you're like, you step over the fence and you come running back. You're like, oh no. So underrated.
Okay. Overrated or underrated middle names?
Underrated. And here's the thing. Okay, I'll tell you all a story. My name is David Tao. I was born and raised in Kentucky. When I went to the Kentucky State Academic Bowl in 8th grade, there were multiple David Taos competing, and none of us were related. And that's what I did.
Was this all kids from Kentucky too?
It's all kids from Kentucky, kids from the state of Kentucky named David Tao, and none of us were related. And I was like,
how could that be?
Do you understand population dynamics? I don't know. Like,
have you encountered a lot of other David Taos in your life?
Okay.
Yeah, for
okay.
sure. And at that moment, I was like, oh no, I'm not doing this shit again.
Yeah.
Like, see, like, no, we're David Thomas Tao.
The differentiator.
From now. It was also about the time Philip Seymour Hoffman was becoming famous. And I was like,
that's got a ring to it. Yeah.
I was like, I'm going to follow his path in life, but maybe not exactly.
Okay, last one, and last one's usually worth all the marbles. Everything comes down to this. We save the best for last. We know you're a spirits guy. We've talked about you drinking what it is you're drinking there. You're a bit of a connoisseur, probably putting it mildly. So overrated or underrated, Lord Calvert?
Oh man, who do I want to piss off?
We tried we were brainstorming the most. We're trying to pick one of the most bottom shelf choices that everyone would be aware of.
Yeah, but also wasn't regional, because there's so many that you think are everywhere, and then you go, oh, it actually is just a small regional thing.
I have one question for you guys before I answer this. I have one question. Do you guys get Jepson's Malort where you are?
See, that doesn't sound familiar to me at all.
No, okay. Is that
no?
Because it's kind of a Midwest thing, but it's really a Chicago thing. I was wondering if it carried over to your all's neck of the woods.
I don't think it does, no.
Okay, I'm going to say underrated, because I think that there are so many great bottom shelfers. God, I'm going to piss so many people off with this. I really hope no one in the spirits industry listens to this. But I do. I think that there are a lot of really, like, that's a cocktail ingredient is what it should be. Right? Like, you're not sipping that neat.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Like with ice, or you use it in your cocktail so you can have it with ice or Coke. And
but like, there's a lot of stuff like Jack Daniel's 80 proof number 7, right? I'm drinking a delicious Jack Daniel's expression right now that is like a true chase bottle. And I would rate this very highly. And I have rated this very highly.
What does a bottle that cost?
Retail like $100. There's like a secondary market, or like New York pricing, you could say, like $500.
Okay.
But like, this is very different than like a but like your Jack Daniel's number 7 black label, or your 80 proofer, right? Like, I don't think you should drink that neat, right? Like,
right.
But it has a place, right? It has a place because people consume alcohol in different ways.
Sometimes it's just over quantity over quality in some cases, I suppose.
But bottom shelfers need to exist, right? Like they have a place, right? They need to exist.
Well, it's like the whole thing. If everything's top shelf, well, then
where's the shelves really lie? Yeah,
exactly. So I would say actually underrated. So that's a really good question. God, I was really hoping you'd ask for Jepsen. You'd ask that about Jepsons from the Lord, because I have so many opinions.
I had to look this up, and I'm looking at it. I don't even know if I've ever seen this bottle in my life, even.
Oh, I have
because it is a distinct looking label, and I don't remember ever seeing this before.
It's a whole thing.
I'm going out this weekend. I'm going to find it.
I'm not stopping until we get to a bar that has Jepsons.
Whatever happens is not my fault. Whatever happens, do not pin that on me, Ricky Bobby.
It's going to be a good Memorial Day weekend. Here we go.
Good news that the results are in. It does look like you, in fact, passed overrated, underrated. The prize for passing is that we will air this episode. We're not just going to delete this upon completion here.
My finger was hovering over the delete button. I was waiting for Tanner to give the results. So
it's like in Gladiator.
Yeah.
Just like
I was right there. The finger was ready to go.
So congratulations. That is one of the highest honors that we bestow upon a guest, is passing overrated, underrated.
I'll take it. I'll take anything I can get.
Big month for you, really, here with everything going on.
Yeah, but I mean, I'll take any ego stroking I can get, so I appreciate it.
No, that kind of brings us to the end. We would first say a couple closing thoughts. Why is the Jefferson deadlift the greatest deadlift variation?
The Jefferson deadlift is the greatest deadlift variation because it is challenging you in every plane of movement and introducing potentially a fourth dimension of challenge, right? So like a tesseract is like a fourth dimensional cube. I like to think of the Jefferson deadlift as the fourth dimensional lift, right? Nothing is going to challenge you across 3 planes and maybe more. Science has yet to prove or disprove the existence of it than the Jefferson deadlift. Fun fact, Kentucky, the state I'm from, the high school had a weird high school strength sports association for a long time. I don't think this is the case. But for a long time, the Jefferson deadlift was actually one of the contested lifts at the high school level in the state of Kentucky. I shit you not.
Wow.
But it was called the straddle deadlift.
Yeah.
Oh,
right.
Okay. Well, yeah. All right.
Little bit less desirable nomenclature, but still okay. We get the point. So that's still all right.
I do also just want to point out the most hate mail I've ever gotten for a Barbend podcast was when I had Tommy on and we mentioned the Jefferson deadlift and we talked about how the fact that like some of our founding fathers had problematic behavior.
They were like, and I don't even think because we got some of that too. And we're like, Tanner and I were talking, we're like, I mean, is it controversial to say Thomas Jefferson had slaves, or some of these people had slaves? So like, that's not a very savory part of American history.
Right.
We're like
that's just like, sort of speaking factual history,
factual,
right?
Like that's not, and we got the same thing too. And we're like, no, these people, we look them up, like they don't follow anything of us. They have no clue yet. We'll just ignore, because you can't say anything that would appease them in any way. So it's like, we'll just ignore that one forever.
Yeah, but I think literally the quote was something akin to like, we were talking, it was like, yeah, Thomas Jefferson, had slaves. That's bad. Anyway, next
right.
topic.
That basically was it. Yeah.
And people were like, how could you say that about the founding fathers?
Yes.
And I was
that is,
that was because he had slaves. Yeah.
Yes, I remember now, Tanner. There was one person, she's like, those founding fathers you were talking so poorly about, those are the ones that allow you to live the life you have right now. So if you have a problem with, I got the whole, like, if you have a problem with our founding fathers, you can leave our country. And I was like, whoa. Like,
I was like, I was like, they had slaves. They were clearly terrible people. And there were founding fathers who didn't have slaves. Like this wasn't that's a horrid thing to do.
I totally forgot about that. Yeah. We got some of that too. It was shocking.
Tommy, I am fine dying on that hill. Like I am fine being like, owning another person is objectively awful.
Right.
You know what? If that's what you get me for, great.
Yeah, you got me. You got me.
You got me.
Yeah. What about let's see. I mean, I guess we kind of know where to find you. They would find you at Barbend because you're still there. What about anything else that you want to get out there while you're on?
Yeah, David Thomas Tao on Instagram, which is a lot of photos of me with birds of prey and also whiskey stuff.
Are like the birds of prey holding whiskey or?
No, well, they don't have hands.
Well, they have those sharp talons though. They could like really latch on, you know.
Well, you'll have to go to my Instagram account and to find out. Okay.
It's a good teaser.
And I'm gonna do what all the influencers say, but don't mean. Go in private soon, so follow now. Which is not the case. I'm definitely not doing that. And then I'm on Twitter at @D_Tao. That's a weird mix of like content stuff and like content business stuff, and also spirits and whiskey stuff. So I don't know, like if you like that weird mix, follow along, and then david@barbend.com, and then please follow along with Barbend. I still host the Barbend podcast. So if you want to listen to some episodes and get really mad about what Tommy and I say about the founding fathers, like follow along with the Barbend podcast.
Couple follow-up things before we wrap up. I just thought about it. I got to get it out there. Owls, while having a reputation for being like the wise old owl, are vicious predators.
They're also really dumb. They're really dumb.
Okay.
So and also, how about on the topic of owls? Isn't there the thing of owls sleeping? Have you ever seen this image when you look it up? You ever looked this up before?
Go on.
If you're in front of a computer, Tanner, you can Google this. David, I don't know if you're actually in front of a computer or some type of.
Oh, I've seen
owls
sleeping.
They sleep face down with their. I don't know if they all do this or if it's just some face down with their like legs straight behind them and their hands straight at their side. It looks like a puppet.
That's just juveniles because their heads are really big and they don't have the musculature to support themselves. Yeah.
Okay.
Adult owls kind of like puff up into a circle and they just kind of like sink into themselves and sleep.
Yeah, baby owl sleeping face down. Okay, there it is.
That's a juvenile.
It still does not look real though. It looks fake.
And last question I had for you. Now with your different role, you got a lot of stuff going on. Would you still be available for voice acting if we need anything for Massenomics done?
I still do a little voice acting, actually. I'll give you all a good discount.
Okay.
On it.
And I'm not I mean, you do voice acting.
I do voice acting. Yeah,
Yeah,
I do professional voice acting. That's the gig of a lifetime. Consider this my official application.
Okay, just so you know, Tanner is writing a Thomas Jefferson autobiography right now, so
it's mostly favorable, and there's some revisionist history involved. So I hope you don't mind.
If that's a puff piece, I want nothing to do with
it. Awesome. Well, I think this was a great episode. We appreciate you coming on and sitting down. This was fun. We hope to keep the Massenomics Barbend connection alive forever.
The partnership, the allyship is strong.
Okay.
Thanks a lot, David.
All right, thanks
guys.
We'll see you.
Y'all, that was fun. Thanks so much.
That was great. Yeah. That was a lot of fun.
Can't wait for all the hate mail we're gonna get. This is gonna be good.
All right. Thanks a lot, David.
See ya.
See ya.
Appreciate it.
That was good, Tanner.
Big David. That was fun.
See, he doesn't know that when we hit recording stop, we're actually still recording.
Joke's on him.
But no, that was all good though. That was a lot of fun.
Very good. Very fun guest. Oh, Tommy, we got a few other things to hit on here still, actually.
Do we? The list is not complete?
Yeah, the list isn't on there, but we talked about it. I wanted to just mention I haven't really been watching any television, but what I have been filling my evenings with when I get the chance is
books.
NBA and two things.
All these books.
I actually do them together.
You're like that old Ty Lopez. That's you. I can't wait for someone in the now. Discord. It's like,
yeah, that's funny.
I'm just here in my garage with all these books. It's like, you know what's cooler than
perfect.
You know what's cooler than a Lamborghini? Books.
Yeah, reading these books.
I read a book a day. Can't wait for someone to finish this episode in the Discord. Find that was it Ty Lopez? Is that his name?
That sounds right.
Find
he was
that
on
clip.
all the YouTube ad clips.
For a while he owned YouTube ads, and then your face can go right on
garage full of bookshelves.
I'm just here in my garage full of books. But
like that dude probably should have got a Kindle.
You know what his thing was? Books. If you looked into it, he's like he has a.
What was he selling?
I don't even. It was probably some how to get rich or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm like, how is this guy reading a book a day while also doing all this other stuff? And I could be remembering this incorrectly, but the way I remember it was that basically his thing was, well, to read a book, you need to really learn to read a book a day. You need to learn the proper way, and that's basically you just skim through the whole thing. And
he's not really reading.
Pick things that you feel like jump out at you, and look at the headings and all that. It's like, no, it's not reading a book.
That's not how you read a book.
That's not how you read a book.
But this isn't my original thing, but it's as long as we're talking about it. I have finished. I had 3 books on my reading list.
All 3 done.
Brave New World, 1984, and Animal Farm.
So do you feel like you can go? Do you feel like you can go? Woo! That hobby's done now.
Partly, those were. I don't know why those 3 were the 3 on my list that I felt like I had to get those read, and I did get all 3 of those read.
What would you rank them? What order in those 3?
Animal Farm is so much shorter, and I didn't realize that. Animal Farm is like an 80-page book.
Mm-hmm.
So it's slightly in a different class than the other 2.
Right. Yeah.
But if I really just had to rank them, that is tough. I would put Animal Farm last just because it doesn't carry the same weight as the other ones do for part of that reason. But it's still good. I'm glad I read it. But and I had read Animal Farm like 20 years ago, or at least part of it.
Like in high school,
surprising, yeah. And as reading it, I'm like, I actually do remember this. Like I thought I remembered nothing about it, but as I read the book, I'm like, I kind of remember all of this in a way. It's like it's somewhere back in my brain.
You're looking through a
like
dirty pair of glasses.
Right, right. But ranking them, if Brave New World or 1984 is better, once I finished Brave New World and was 2/3 of the way through 1984, I would have said hands down Brave New World is the better book.
Mm-hmm.
But that last third of 1984 really
starts to move fast, I thought, doesn't it?
It does start to move fast.
Or am I remembering wrong?
No, it's once I don't know. I won't spoil anything for anyone that hasn't read a book that came out in 1948. It really picked up, and none of them are feel good books in any way. But I think 1984 is the best, better. But I'm glad having it. They are very similar in a lot of ways. So it's good to read.
You did feel that all 3 were worth your time.
All 3 were worth my time. So now the question is, what am I going to read next? And Atlas Shrugged has been on my list of reading. The problem is Atlas Shrugged is longer than these 3 books put together.
Yeah. I mean, isn't that one of the critiques of like, don't some people say it's just almost long for the sake of being long? Like,
yeah, but I want to read it for the same reason I wanted to read these books, just because of the references. When it's referenced, I like to understand, and not just like I kind of understood the references before, and I kind of understand the reference of Atlas Shrugged, but I really want to have read it and say, I do get that.
It's a lot.
I get that.
That's a lot of book though. That is.
And I had started to read another book, and just a piece on this. It's, has he seen it? Good Will Hunting. You've never seen Good Will Hunting, or you have?
Just say no. I was saying no. I've seen A Beautiful Mind. No, I've seen Good Will Hunting.
You've seen Good Will Hunting?
Yes, I've seen Good Will Hunting.
You know the scene where he's in. Speaking of Harvard. Back to Harvard, when he's in the bar, the smart Harvard guy with the ponytail, the blonde guy. It's how do you like these? And he
starts like one upping him and all that is.
Well, I haven't watched Good Will Hunting for a while, but I think the way I remember the scene is Matt Damon says, "I'm sure you've read. I know you've read this, and that, but if you really know your shit, have you ever read this, and this? These are this is like the viewpoints you don't get because you're reading what they're telling you to read, and you're not reading there's a couple of those books of his that we actually had, and it's the ones that Matt Damon says, but you need to read this and this. And one of, I can't remember the author. Okay, I just about had it there. What was that? Chomsky.
Oh, Chomsky?
Noam Chomsky. Yes. Yeah. He talks about one of the books that he wrote, and we had it, and I started reading this book, and I read the first chapter, and I thought, I have to be the biggest dumbass in the world for how little I understand what I'm reading right now. Like, just where I'm like, I am the world's largest dunce that I can read this, and like, I know what, there's not a vocabulary here I don't understand. It's the words written in the order that they're written that I'm like, I do not know what's being talked about
on its
here.
own. I know what these words mean, but as a whole, I don't know. I like my, I got to see if I'm right on this. The only reason I was even aware of what like the word, the name Chomsky even is I was a big fan of punk music when I was younger. And I remember the band NoFX had a song called Franco Un-American, and they made some reference to Chomsky in it. And I'm like, are they just making up a word there? What are they saying? And I remember looking up those lyrics, like, what are they saying? And then, all because I read a little Noam Chomsky there. And that's
so I started to read one. I read the first chapter of that book, and I read it slowly, and I really was trying to absorb what it was saying as hard as I could. And I read it, and I got some takeaways from it, but there was more that I didn't understand than I did.
Yeah.
Like, I could tell you the general theme of that chapter, but overall, if you really wanted me to get into it, I'd be like, it's over my head. And that's like,
and that like shows you that, I mean, I'm not going to say I'm like an overly smart person. I don't think I'm that dumb of a person either, but there's a lot of people that like to think that they're really smart people. And then you're like, no, like there's people that are like deep. They could bury you if you want, if they wanted to. Like there's people that know a lot about a lot of stuff and can talk and express things in ways that your brain isn't capable of doing.
Right. And that's where I was at on that book. That's why I put it down, but I did order Atlas Shrugged.
You did? Okay.
And I would love to read it. I just don't know how I'm going to. I like the feeling of accomplishment of finishing a book. And the problem with a 1,000-page book is if it sucks me in, I can get it done. It's going to take a while. But if I can't punish myself through 1,000 pages.
Well,
like
maybe when you're done with that one, you can read War and Peace. Are you familiar with that?
I've heard War and Peace is very hard to stick with and follow too. Like that, it's very hard.
I had to look it up. It says it's 1,225 pages.
But I mean, even beyond the length, like I've heard that War and
the
Peace
reading.
Is just not an easy to read. So like, I would also like to probably read that, but I can't force myself to read these things if they don't grab me a little bit. But I'm going to give Atlas Shrugged a try next, I think.
Here's an easy one you can add to your list. Actually, two ones. Actually, you said you listen to Lex Friedman all the time. So you got me going on some of those. I've been listening to some of those lately.
Do you like Lex Friedman?
I haven't listened to, I've listened to 3 episodes is all. And I feel like that's hard to really get a gauge on someone.
Yeah, that's true.
I think I like him, but it's hard to. I mean, the people I've listened to so far have been like one guy these were all like 3 recent ones. So I think I do. He hasn't said anything that I'm like, oh, I hate this guy or what's this about? So it's hard for me to say, but he seems like a principled person that has like well thought out things and is open-minded to things too. So
I think I do like, I mean, not saying I agree with every single thing he says, but I like him as a,
like I guess my thing is at the end of the day, if someone can say like, I don't even know if this is the way you say it, but if someone can say like they're principled, like they have principles, like it's not just, I take a hard, fast rule on this because it's like, no, I actually have reasons for the way I think. And it's based off of logical reasoning, not just because, well, my reason is this because this is how I do it. Like, and he seems to be like very open-minded and things like that. And especially he's an intelligent person that seems to like totally be embracing the idea of AI and all that too. So, but I have heard them bring up this book, and when I got really into reading a few years ago, I bought this one. I didn't quite finish it. It was Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. And he was one of the survivors of the Holocaust. Okay. And that's like 100 and some page book. And people say like, that's one of the most profound books in life. And I would have finished it. But what happened to me, was when I moved, when we went from like studio, like 3.0 to 4.0 and I got lost in the move. And then I just never
picked it back
found
up. Yeah,
it
it's
and
easy
picked
to
it back
get
up.
out of it. And
So that was one. And then another one that falls in those lines that gets brought up a lot. And this one I actually did enjoy reading, and I think you would too. It's Meditations by Marcus Aurelius.
I was talking to Ryan Anderson at the gym, Big Sergeant Anderson at the gym, and he's bringing me Meditations for me to read. He's like, you got to read Meditations. Because
and there's different
like,
versions
it's just
of
a
it.
Book of,
There's different versions of it too. And if you look around, I'm not
He said it's like one of his favorites.
Yeah, dude, there's some things in that book where I really enjoyed that book. And there was, it's almost like you're just reading, honestly, if you were like reading tweets from someone in the year.
That's exactly what Ryan said too. It's like you're just, that's the way the book is written. It's just like all these,
it's been probably 5 years now, but I don't remember very many sections of that book that are longer than like more than a couple paragraphs. There's whole because some of it is like, lost text. Like they didn't have all of it, but you go through whole pages at times where it's just like 2 sentences, new thought, 2 sentences, new thought. But there are some things in there and you read that and I don't even know what the year was. Was it 100 BC or something like? I can't remember when the year was.
I couldn't guess within 500 years of accuracy.
But there was some things in that when I was reading it, I'm like, damn, if this just shows that the human condition does not change through time, space,
that it can be the same, applicable now.
Like there was some things that he's writing. I'm like, I literally feel like I'm reading an Instagram caption right now of someone that went through a breakup, or I'm reading an Instagram caption of someone that's like, oh, I'm like going beast mode and I'm working so hard. And like, it's crazy how people just their talking patterns, the ideas behind what they're trying to say and do just do not change through time. Like they're the same over and over.
AD 175, presumably.
I knew it was somewhere close to that 0 number. Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, I actually really, really enjoyed that book a lot. That was really good. And then from there you get into the whole stoicism thing and all that.
Yes. Yeah.
And then there was, that was at the same time I bought, was it Reflections of a Stoic? Is that what it's called? I forget whatever the hell. It was some Stoic book, whatever, by Seneca or someone. I can't remember.
Yeah.
I never got around to reading that one though. Okay. But it's reminding me I have all these books. Maybe I should go read them.
Yeah.
They're in a tote somewhere,
So the book thing was actually leading me what I've been watching a little bit that night, because when I'm not like, I'll watch a little bit and then I'll read the NBA playoffs.
Yes. I've actually been watching a fair amount of the NBA playoffs too.
I won't get into full depth of the recap of the NBA playoffs, but just a couple of key takeaways is NBA playoffs, so much better than the regular season of the NBA. The NBA regular season basically sucks and is pointless, and nothing's interesting until they're in the playoffs, because it is really a separate season.
Mm-hmm.
And also,
first round of the playoffs, pretty good. Conference finals, garbage, right?
Yeah, they've been garbage. Not quite. Is there a game tonight? Or is
there
that
was.
Night?
They were playing. Let's see.
The Heat win?
I'm going to find out right now. No, Boston won 110-97.
Okay. So my little wrap up on it is I'm not a Lakers fan. I'm not a LeBron fan, but I find myself, I was cheering for them over the Nuggets because what I cheer for the older player that was relevant, like when I really appreciated the sport. I can't find myself I can't cheer against the team that has like the most relevant player of my generation, basically, like of my adult generation. Like he's older than us.
Mm-hmm.
And that had me, even though like all the negatives people come up with about LeBron and cheer against him, I get all of that. But when it comes down to it, I wanted to see him win, and it's just an interesting story when he's there. And
I'm usually always for the underdog. If my team's not in it, which I'm a Minnesota sports fan, so that means my teams are always the underdog. But if my team's not in it, I'm always cheering for the underdog. This was one case where the Nuggets themselves, just that franchise, is an underdog. Right. And then the Lakers being, what seed were they?
7.
Yeah, okay, 7. So they were the underdog, but they're also the Lakers. But normally, Lakers, right. I am not a Lakers fan. In this case, I'm like, I think I'm okay with however this series goes.
Yeah.
I was actually hoping that maybe there would be not a sweep, I would have liked to see that more, but
yeah,
I guess
for sure
the Nuggets, they are definitely looking like the favorites to win this whole thing, which I'm all for. Different markets winning a championship.
Yeah, it's crazy how athletic and good, how athletic LeBron still is when he's 39 and been playing for 20 seasons. That's just insane. That is insane. What he's able to do, at least in spurts.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense at all when you see the number of guys
yeah.
around him that are like, oh yeah, here's a picture of this guy playing against LeBron, and now he coaches here, and just
now he's an old
there's so much
guy.
of that, yeah. Or like the one, what was the one guy? The one day he's like, yeah, my dad played against you, and they were playing. I don't know what round it was. He was playing someone.
Right. And then the Nuggets are the best team, and Joker is the best player in the NBA right now. And after watching this, I didn't have an opinion, but it's a crime he didn't win the MVP again because he is the best player. Like, I don't even understand like how he looks so, other than being a huge guy that probably like whatever, he's almost 7 foot. He does not look physically impressive. He is not a specimen of
he's not like he doesn't have any like majorly, like he's not having that quick step on anyone.
No.
Doesn't have any like super impressive physical capabilities outside of his size. But
and that's what his game is like. Even when you watch, you're like, I can't tell you what it is that he like. I don't know what makes him so much better.
A technical master, right? Like he's just that much smarter and that much better at the things he does.
Right. His shot is goofy. Like,
even when he's like dribbling, it never really even looks like he's like that precise with it. But at a certain point, when you're close to 7 feet, it never really looks that precise.
Right. So that is impressive. They'll be tough to beat because they're tough. And then on the East, like I feel like it's impossible not to cheer for Jimmy Butler. Like no matter what team you like, and also like he's been in the league many years. Been aware of him for a long time. Never as aware as this pretty incredible playoff run he's making as the 8th seed. And I like that guy, like his attitude in press conferences and stuff like that. I'm like, he is humble, but then still kind of a killer on the court. He gives everyone else the credit, like I just appreciate his demeanor about almost everything. I'm like, that's my new favorite player.
See, I felt the same way. And, I have some former roommates that are diehard Minnesota sports fans.
And
he
was there for one season.
Even diehard Timberwolves fans. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, how about Jimmy Butler? And the fact that he like tanked he just torpedoed the team and destroyed it when he decided he was done. He basically lit the bomb and walked away. And with that in mind, he's like, I can never ever be a fan of that guy.
I could see that too. Yeah, I could see.
It's like, I get you don't want to be on the team, fine, but you don't have to destroy the entire franchise in the process.
Right. I can see the logic of that, but.
Yeah, with that being said, I don't have that much of a connection to the Timberwolves. Right. So, I was watching this. I'm like, how could you not? This is the definition of putting the team on your back and just winning through sheer will of you alone.
You know the conspiracy theory on Jimmy Butler, though?
I don't.
He looks a lot like Michael Jordan.
Oh.
He looks a lot like Michael Jordan. And the timing works out from, Jimmy doesn't know who his dad is. Michael was on a road trip where Jimmy's mom lived.
Really, this
when
is
he
an
would have
actual
had to have been
conspiracy
conceived.
theory?
It's an actual conspiracy theory.
Okay.
I don't not giving any credibility to it, but it is. There's people out there making it, but it's mostly fun. It's just funny to me.
Yeah.
But I think that's a funny conspiracy theory. But maybe they won't pull it off. I thought maybe the Celtics. I was talking to Big Grant of the Straight Coat. Of course, a big Boston sports fan. He's at the game in Miami the other night, and we were talking about it. And nobody's ever come back from 3-0 ever, but that does mean it's going to happen someday, right? Mm-hmm. Like someone has to be the first one. And
who is it?
I could see it in this scenario. If the Celtics got hot and played good, like
if you're going to do it, you should do it against an 8 seed, right?
That's right. And like if Jimmy just comes down to earth, very possible.
Mm-hmm. And do they? I'm looking. Where are the next? So they're 4 games in. They're 5 games in. Where are the next 2 games at?
Well, the last one's got to be in Boston, so they must go Miami, then back to Boston.
Is that what it is?
It goes back 2-2, and then it must go back and forth.
See, if you lose the next one, that is to lose the next one and then
they
go
gotta
back
go
to
Boston for 7.
That's gonna be the momentum has
Garden,
shifted hard. That one would be tough.
The problem here is even if Miami pulls this out, Jimmy has been carrying this team on his back, and now instead of when they had the chance for the sweep and getting equal rest as the Nuggets, they're going to be on this 7-game grinder where he just like blows his complete wad on trying to get through it.
Gave everything
and then
he
goes
had.
to the finals and goes against the best player and the best team. All of a sudden, it's like, this is a sweep. Is how I can see that going.
I mean, that's very likely that could happen, which is a very anticlimactic end to the NBA season to Western Conference Finals.
But then also maybe he can just pull it off, and maybe he just gets even crazier in the. That's what it would take.
that would
like the most insane performance of a player.
You get all-time legend status on that one.
Yeah. So that's probably already too much about the NBA. Too much about books and too much about the NBA.
So who is your pick to win the finals?
I think there's almost no way the Nuggets don't win, but I would love to see the Heat make it and win.
I would love to see
I also don't dislike the Celtics.
I don't either, but there's something about an 8 seed making it that's just really awesome. So I would love to see the Heat make it. I'd love to see it be a good series. I wouldn't mind seeing the Nuggets win, though.
Yeah.
The Heat have a lot of championships to their name.
The Nuggets team is just too good.
They are.
And I did see them play in person this year, although almost none of them played.
Right.
Unfortunately for me.
Because of NBA.
Also, just one other comment about the NBA. Just the shooting. Like, everyone is so good. They're all so good. Like, obviously, these are the best NBA players. What I'm comparing it to is more of what I'm, prior to the Steph Curry
you know why
boom
they're
of
so good.
Basketball.
You know why they're so good? Because no one plays defense anymore.
I don't. Yeah, I mean, there's different defensive rules. The hand checking is different and stuff like that. But I don't know. I see a lot of contested shots that just still go in all the time.
I'm like, at a certain level, like, okay, yeah, you're 7 feet and you make 3-pointers. What am I supposed to do on defense, right? Like, isn't that?
And you shoot it like behind your head like this, like
exactly
that's not physically
like
blockable.
That's not really a defense thing. That's more like the offense has advanced so far that
it's
the game has.
Yeah,
it's
like
swung
Dirk
so far one
shooting
way.
a turnaround weird fadeaway when he's almost 7 foot and shoots it over his head. It's like you can't defend it. Nobody's 10 feet tall.
Yep, and everyone's figured out how to exploit the game this way, and that's in the rule. Like, they're not doing anything illegal. Like, it's just everyone's gotten so goddamn good at offense that it's
that's what my takeaway is, just how good. And an open shot in the NBA most of the time is just like, that's like not open. That's like blanket defended and like, at lower levels of basketball.
I agree. And that's why I agree. And there's a lot of people that love to hate on the NBA, and I think it's kind of a popular thing to do. And I get it at times. Like, they do have some things, but even when people are like,
now's when it's good because it's the playoffs, because they're all trying.
But even when people are like, college basketball is so much better, it's like, watch the speed of a college game versus NBA. And I get it. Maybe you like the game more at the college level.
Right.
But it's because the guys at the NBA level are too crazy. They're like breaking the game. They're too good.
That's true. I kind of agree with that. It's just so impressive.
You could take
very impressive.
some bad NBA players, and so many of them would just eat up all college teams,
Yeah. Well, and I'm a big local college basketball fan. I go to like basically all the games, and I love it. And it's just a fun local atmosphere. But granted, this is Division II college basketball.
But even there, you go up one level, and it's a huge jump.
Exactly.
And even that, like the lower D1 is a huge jump. And then you go up to the best D1, and that's another big jump. And then you're talking the NBA, and that's a even more significant jump,
Yes. So that's the NBA in a nutshell.
That's called Sports and Books with Tommy and Tanner.
Catch us every week for more. We're rebranding the podcast. It's just going to be called Sports and Books with Tommy and Tanner.
This actually just reminds me right now. It's really funny. We went out to eat breakfast a couple weeks ago, and on TV, one of the TVs was what was the Michael Jordan
Air?
No,
or Last Dance.
Last Dance. That was on, and this guy was in there with his, I'm assuming his wife. They're both in like their 40s or 50s.
Last Dance is really good.
Yeah,
so.
And he's like, "Oh, Phil Jackson, just such a brilliant man." And I'm like, "Okay, yeah, I don't think anyone will argue with you on that one." He just the way he ran that offense was just something else. What he did. This is when I really started cracking up. The way this guy started taking, he's like, what he did is he just made it. he made it so you only had to make one decision. It was either yes or no. It was binary. It was on or off. The human brain can only it's only good at making one decision. You start doing more, and people's capabilities just fall apart. That's what good sales is all about. And then starts going on and on about that's what a good salesman does. They get you to say yes or no. They don't say, here's 10 options with 10 different things. That's too much. It's too overwhelming. And so he goes on this whole, and I'm listening, and I'm like, what? Is this real life? He's actually saying this?
Yeah.
And so finally he's like talking. They're going on and on about sales. And then
is this like his wife or a business?
I'm pretty sure it was his wife. This is a Sunday morning.
Yeah.
and then he goes, yeah, but anyways, though, that triangle offense was something else.
If I said any of that remotely to my wife, she would be like, stop.
Oh,
shut up.
That's what I told my wife. I said, like, I couldn't even imagine trying to attempt that conversation with you. One, because I would be laughing at myself because it'd sound like such a joker.
Yeah.
But then I know you don't care about any of that I'm saying, especially at that level. Like, yeah, you might be like, oh yeah, he was the coach and he had this cool offense, but to take it to the level you were going to was just, it was so ridiculous.
Also, Phil coach, but I don't think you can overemphasize the fact enough of him that he was coaching Michael Jordan.
Yeah, let's be fair. There's a lot of teams you could have put him on where things might not have panned out quite the same.
If you get Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, then you so happen to get Kobe Bryant and Shaquille O'Neal after that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I wouldn't have won a few championships by just been like, oh yeah, you're Michael Jordan. Go do Michael Jordan stuff. I'll sit over here.
Yeah, like 100%. I think there's a lot. I mean, is there? Do people argue that that he was the only coach that could have got those results with those players?
Oh no, I don't think anyone thinks that really, honestly. Yeah. And also, the NBA is, in my opinion, not a coach-driven league. It is a talent-driven league.
Yeah, and at that level, you're just really at that level. Aren't you just making sure guys get along? Isn't it just the locker room?
I think you're babysitting.
Yeah.
To like trying to keep attitudes correct and
keep morale right.
You know what else you should probably try to do?
Head
over to spud-ink-straps.com. They've got belts over there. We know that they've got the straps and wraps. We love them. We use them. But they've also got belts. Spud Ink makes a variety of belts. But which one do you think is right for you? They've got the classic deadlift belt, the new Olympic belt. No matter what kind of athlete you are, Spud Ink makes a belt that would be perfect for you. Check them out. I'm over on the site right now. They've got lines and lines of belt. There's at least 25 belts here. Prices, I see as low as $50. They've got their men's Pro Series 3-ply belt, very heavy-duty ratcheting belt, and that's still only $93. So options, affordability, everything good about them at Spud Ink. Another positive, they've got free shipping on all domestic orders that are $75 or more. So head over there, check out the straps and the wraps like usual. Also check out their belts. Let them know your buddies at Massenomics sent you.
And today's episode is also brought to you by Texas Power Bars. Buddy Caps first started lifting weights in the late 60s and began powerlifting in the mid-70s. At the time, he was working for Image Barbell, building gym equipment. Around 1976, a local machine shop started making Olympic bars for them, calling it the Image Bar. In 1977, Image Barbell became Champion Barbell. It was then that Buddy started looking at the bars with an intent of changing them for the better. In 1979, Buddy bought his first lathe to begin addressing the known issues. In 1980, his passion, drive, and purpose now had a greater mission. Buddy set out on his own to make what he believed was the greatest bar he'd ever seen and trained with, and the Texas Power Bar was born. It was strong as a house with the best knurling and was maintenance-free. Hundreds of state, national, international, and world powerlifting records have been and continue to be set and broken on the Texas Power Bar. To learn more about Texas Power Bars and buy one of their legendary bars, visit texaspowerbars.com.
Thank you, Texas Power Bars. This episode also well over 2 hours, going to be close to 2.5 hours. That's been what we've been doing lately. I'd be curious to hear some feedback from people. Do they like these long?
Has anyone ever even made it through the guest lately? Does anyone even know we're podcasting?
Yeah. What do you think of this? Do you like the long episodes? Would you like them to be even longer? Would you like them to be shorter? Is this about right? They're not always going to be this long, but when we got a lot of good stuff like this to say, we just got to get it out there.
We do. You can't stop us. I think about it though. I don't listen to very many podcasts that are less than like an hour, hour and a half. Like if I see a podcast is an hour long, I think, oh, that's a quick one. I can knock that out in no time.
True.
It seems like so many of the podcasts I listen to are now 2 hours seems like the norm to me. I don't really think twice when I see a podcast that's 2 hours. When I say 3, I go, that's getting longer. And then once you're at 4, I think that's a really long podcast. That's the line excessive. For me. Yeah.
Yeah. That's half a work day.
Yeah. Gotta do a lot of in between listening to catch up on this thing.
Yeah. Make sure to check out our YouTube channel. We've got I think we're keeping the streak alive. Another video coming out tomorrow, so that's already out by the time you're listening to this.
That'll be the top strength training podcast you should be listening to. Speaking of podcasts.
The
podcast and YouTube video.
That's actually a running list that we've redone that several times over the years. This is the first time putting it in video format, and should be pretty fun, right?
Yeah, every year we have to update it because podcasts just disappear.
They come and they go.
One is constant, though. I'll let you guess what one is always there.
Yeah.
We'll probably talk about that more next week, though. So
that's true. So make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, please. We're working hard at that. We're not hardly working. We are working hard at YouTube. We'd love to have more people checking that out. So please subscribe, like the videos over there if you can, and leave us a comment. Let us know what you think about each one, or just be a silly goose, whatever helps the algorithm. We'll take it on YouTube. And then we talked about the crew surprise gift we've got coming up for all our supporting members. So now is the time to sign up to become a supporting member. Do not wait. It'll be worth it. It's going to be very fun. You want to be in on this one, so get signed up right away. And then our new drop that came out this week, it's the meat drop, the comp drop. We had the 2 meat tees, perfect for under your singlet. Lift hard, live easy on the sleeve. Massenomics logo in front. Our new deadlift socks. We've never had deadlift socks before. So this is your first time ever to get on those. And then our newest, latest, greatest headband that we think is actually quite an awesome product and a really good value buy. So grab a headband and then stay tuned for the singlet, which is coming as soon as we possibly can get it here. Might be a week or two, but stay tuned. You can get signed up for back in stock notifications on that on our website. Tommy, where do they find you at?
You can find me at Tomahawk_D.
You can follow me at Tanner_Baird, but just make sure to follow Massenomics at Massenomics.
See ya.